Welcome everybody to this very special episode. It is episode 110 of the ADV podcast. I know we're doing it on a Tuesday rather than a Friday, but there's been some breaking news with regards to the situation in Xinjiang. So we really wanted to bring this to you now while it's fresh and as soon as possible.
Absolutely. So the Xinjiang situation is something that Winston and I have been covering in depth for a very long time now. And I'll tell you why. If you guys are new here, if you're just watching this for the breaking news and stuff, Winston lived in China for 14 years, first China vlogger, first guy to make YouTube videos out of China. I lived in China for a decade. And during our time in China, we spent a lot of time with Uyghur people from the Xinjiang region. But first of all, we kind of wanted to explain what this whole situation is if you're new to it.
Yeah.
So before we get to the leaked documents, the leaked photos, and all this stuff that really points incredible amounts of blame to the Chinese government and the atrocities that they've pulled, we'd like to go through what this actually means.
Sure.
So the Uyghur people are from a province in China called Xinjiang. And historically, this part of China wasn't part of China.
No, that's why it's called... Can you explain why it's called Xinjiang? What does Xin mean?
Xin means new, and Jiang means like territory, right? Or frontier, it actually means. So like Xinjiang is like a new frontier. It's kind of like you can imagine a place where the pilgrims went to discover, or the pioneers going across the country with their wagon wheels. It's kind of that vibe.
Maybe like New England.
New England, right?
Right.
It's like a new territory that they've discovered to displace the native people.
Sure.
Right? A lot of parallels there, right?
Right.
So communist China has control of this region. We can go to the next part. What you can see is that the Xinjiang, the Uyghur people are not Chinese.
I have to tell you that in China, I would very often be, I'd be mistaken. So
Same.
I'll go back to that. For a Xinjiang person, if you were to travel anywhere outside of the big cities, the local people would think that you were a Xinjiang Ren, which is what they'd say.
Yeah, that was the thing. If they go around, because they're not used to seeing foreigners like us, they would just assume, hey, that's a Uyghur. That's a Xinjiang person. So this is in Western China. You can see how big the province is. It's like the size of Alaska, basically. It's massive.
Huge.
A lot of it's desert. A lot of it's also alpine forests. It's a very diverse area, and it's full of these Turkic people that have almost nothing to do with China.
Sure.
We've covered Xinjiang food in our food documentaries. Very, very much a Turkic food, a Central Asian type food.
Yeah, people look different. Like
different.
you probably see in some of the upcoming mugshots and so on. A lot of them look Caucasian. They look Middle Eastern. They look very different to the majority Han Chinese people.
Sure. You get Caucasian looking ones. You get people that look have mixed with the Russian people. You also get a lot of Kazakhs in the region, and a lot of Tajiks.
Yeah, what we're trying to say is you can't hide. If you're a Uyghur, it's very easy to spot
if you're a Uyghur or a minority in the region. There's lots of minorities in the region. Anyway, these leaked documents came about because of these allegations of something that most people are calling concentration camps.
Right.
And these concentration camps were basically created to contain the people group of the Uyghurs and also just the minorities in the area.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately for the communist fantasy that the Soviet Union and China likes to put out, it is not a celebrated diversity country. This is not a country that celebrates people of different languages and ethnicities. They treat them like zoo animals.
Correct.
Right? So if you're non-Han, Han Chinese is 91% of Chinese people. If you're not one of those, then you're a minority.
Sure.
And if you're a minority, you're either put on display like, look at them dance. Look at them, they're special cultures, right? Yeah. And people go and look at them like a zoo animal, or you're treated like a lesser citizen.
Correct.
Right? Like a lesser person. So unfortunately, in China, the Uyghur people are the most different from the Chinese people. So the government takes offense to that, and they don't want any more sectarian things going on in the region.
Yeah, and of course they blame it all on extremism and separatism. Let's be completely honest here. There have been a lot of terrorist attacks and there has been a lot of extremism within the Xinjiang region historically for a very long time. So the Chinese government decided that they'd come in and stop this. This was their whole reason behind this. But the way that they decided to stop this is to lump everybody into the same area and just say, all of you guys, we're going to deal with you. We're not going to allow your religion. If we catch you doing anything that we consider to be different, in other words, you read scripture, you grow a beard.
Dress differently.
Yeah, you pray, you do.
Speak your native language in schools.
Then that's that's possibly a step towards extremism. So
Right.
we're just going to put you away, lock you away.
Yeah, and I just want to clarify, the reason that a lot of the terrorist activity happened and sectarian activities happened was not because of the nature of religion and things like this. It was because they didn't want to be part of China.
Sure.
And it's not that, like, I understand how geopolitics works, right? You can't just say, oh, why don't you just let them have their own country? I get that, right? I get that it's China claims that region. Mm-hmm. But the way that they tried to, like you said, the way that they tried to integrate people through force, all of a sudden you start realizing what kind of things they were doing. And unfortunately, the allegations are coming out that the women are being forced sterilized so they couldn't reproduce.
Sure.
Han people, and we can attest to this 100% true, Han people were being bused and shipped into the region to displace the Uyghur people so that the Han people became the majority. In fact, I had students that were from Xinjiang, and I said, wow, it's really interesting. They just look like Han people. Turns out they were recent Han immigrants to the area, and they would talk very poorly about the Uyghur people. They would say, oh, we don't mix with them. Like, this is our China. We have our own areas. They don't come to our area.
Sure.
Right. Anyway, long story short, forced abortions, sterilization, forcing Han men to shack up basically with Uyghur women to reproduce or to displace the men out of the household. Yeah. Eradicating the language and prayer elements of their culture. Sure. Right. Then not only that, these concentration camps that I previously mentioned sprung up. And this was in an effort to re-educate people into the, Communist Party of China doctrine. Yeah. I wouldn't say Chinese culture. Most of the evidence we've seen is not teaching people to celebrate Chinese New Year. It's to celebrate Xi Jinping's doctrine.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
The Communist Party's doctrine.
Yeah.
The thing is, the reason we're making this video now is because there has been this leak. Now, what's happened is anonymously, a whole bunch of documents and photos have been leaked to the Western world, to the Western press, and they've been verified. They've been independently verified. They're not doctored. They're not fake. And what you can see in the background is, one of the photos that was leaked. You can see taking satellite imagery of these alleged camps, which are actually really camps. You can see that this belongs. This is inside one of those camps, for instance, just to verify that this is real. But independent journalists and independent sources have verified from multiple, from the German press to the British press to, proper experts in the field have verified these. So it's not some made up nonsense. And we're going to get more into this and show you just how damning this is, because this is what China's been trying to hide for the longest time.
Yes.
So anyway, we have over here actual footage. Remember the Guangguang went out there, and a very brave Chinese guy went out to go and film some of these camps.
He was actually inspired because he was like, well, we're not allowed, like the media in China is not covering this. They're not going to prove that the camps don't exist.
Sure.
So let me go for myself, see for myself. And he did. He found them.
Yeah. Now, okay. Well, I want to rewind just a little bit here. Remember in the beginning when people started to hear whispers about these camps, okay? You used to, we would hear about them when we were living in China, okay? My Chinese friends would tell me about like how they were treating them. Oh, they're bad people, so we have to deal with them type thing. I'd hear that a lot. But right in the beginning, when Uyghurs were escaping or like their families were being taken away and they would go to try to speak to the press or speak to anybody and things would leak, China outright denied that these camps existed. They were like, no, there's no such thing as fake news. Yeah. Okay? Yeah. Eventually, too much evidence mounted up, and they came out and said, they're real, but they're just vocational schools.
Yeah, we're just teaching skills because it's an impoverished region. Yeah. And we want them to be just as good as the rest of the population.
Yeah. And then it kind of devolved from there. And then it got into like, well, screw you because you bomb Iraq. We need to take care of our extremists over here, and don't you dare meddle in our internal politics.
If we were to make a photographic timeline, it would look something like, these camps don't exist at all. Shut up. Yeah. To, yes, these camps exist, and we want to do all these bad things because you did bad things in the past too.
Yeah, and, don't meddle.
Don't meddle with us.
Yeah, exactly.
We have our own ways.
So, look, they are true. And we've had countless stories of people who have escaped, okay? And people, we personally know Uyghurs whose family are still missing, who have still gone into this system of concentration camps and never come out. Yes. Okay. Anyway, so
anyway, people started protesting in Western countries, and Turkey, and all over the world. So what happened was, in that somewhere on that timeline, I like that you pointed out, is that the Chinese government started out by saying this isn't real at all, so shut up, right? And because they had to admit that they were real, right? They had to. Because people went abroad to tell their stories, right?
Yeah.
People went outside and held up signs and said, this is my story. I went through the camps, or my family went through the camps,
Yes.
right? Here's exactly how it works. So they put on things like tribunals and all this kind of stuff. And the Chinese government has to do something. Instead of saying, somewhere in between, right? Instead of saying, yes, these camps exist, or no, they don't exist at all. Somewhere in this limbo, they created, I started started popping up on my radar. They started making thousands and thousands of YouTube videos, right? Mm-hmm. And putting out these bizarre messages about how Uyghurs' lives are so free.
Yeah.
And it popped up on my radar and they came up with these YouTube channels called like Real Xinjiang.
Yeah.
And what happened was there was a leaked document. It's from WeChat, like a WeChat circle. It's kind of like WhatsApp for China. And there was a government initiative to go out there in these specific regions of Xinjiang to go find Uyghur people that can speak decent Chinese. Mm-hmm. And then go tell them, I'm happy. And Mike Pompeo, who at the time, by the way, was making allegations about Xinjiang, I'm so mad about Mike Pompeo.
Yeah, shut up, Mike Pompeo.
You son of a bitch.
Yeah.
I can't believe you would say this about our happy Uyghur lifestyle, right? So this was a weird Band-Aid that China started to put on, right? And it was super creepy and bizarre.
They're always too on the nose. That's the problem. If you say, oh, guess what? China's doing a bad thing. They're doing this. Like, oh, China's leaving the toilet seat up.
Yes.
They'll come up with like a million videos showing people putting a toilet seat down. We don't leave the toilet seat up.
That's really good. I want you to actually stop here. I want you to look at this for 2 seconds. I like what you said. The idea of maybe putting out a random little video out in the zeitgeist is a different story. If you played the long game, and if you really wanted to cover up this genocide, you'd put a little one here, put a little one there, make it natural, make it like show a Uyghur doing something in the background of a normal scene. Yeah. Right? But instead, they get these mandates or these quotas and say, we need to put out 1,000 videos showing happy Uyghurs. So let me just read some of these titles.
Sure. A
happy and harmonious neighborhood. Hashtag stop Xinjiang rumors, which is most of them, right? Mm-hmm. Pompeo, look at our happy and perfect life. Pompeo, just take care of yourself and leave us alone, right? Like you said, on the nose to the point where it just reeks of, this is probably something bad.
You've been called out. You've been called out, like our happy life.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So only we know how we are going. You know?
So I'd like to show some of these, just a couple of these videos. Again, there were thousands that I found.
Let's get us out of here. We're going to show this, and we'll be right back.
With subtitles.
她是土生土长的维吾尔族姑娘。最近我在手机等平台上浏览了蓬佩奥发表的滑稽言论，我真的很想笑。我在新疆生活了20多年了，我怎么就没有发现我的人权被压迫或受到了限制呢？
Stop on that phrase there.
Okay.
So that's an example of a girl that they went to go find.
Yes.
The university. She's very nervous. She's shaking.
Yeah, you can.
You imagine Chinese cops show up at your door, knock, right?
Yeah.
These Han policemen. They're like, hey, we're gonna make you say this script, right? And it is a script. There's multiple people that say exactly the identical same thing. It's all the same points, right? Mm-hmm. So they go on there and they go like, you're gonna say something bad about Pompeo. You're gonna say that you were reading your phone or reading the news or something, and you found out about Pompeo. And the first thing that struck me was, number one, if you're a Uyghur in Xinjiang, if you use a VPN...
Which you'll see shortly, we have proof.
Right. Yes.
Actual proof. If
you use a VPN, a Uyghur friend told me this, if you use... And we actually have the government...
No, I mean, we have proof from before, but we've got further proof.
New proof. Anyway, if you use a VPN, so a tool to jump over the Great Firewall of China, remember, China's internet's blocked, right? Yeah. It's an intranet. The internet is everything else that Chinese people can't see. If you're a Uyghur, if you're from Xinjiang here, and you use a VPN to go over that Great Firewall, then what happens is, if you get caught, you actually get thrown in jail for second-degree terrorism.
Yes.
And second-degree terrorism is a crime that is punished with years and years of prison. Actually, your life is over at that point, right?
15 years, 17 years.
Can be up to 15 years, 17 years in some cases. So Uyghur people in Xinjiang don't know about what Pompeo said.
No.
Right? You'd have to use a VPN to see that news.
Yeah, because it's blocked. All that was completely wiped off the Chinese internet.
Correct. I mean, obviously, they don't want Chinese people to be reading about the Uyghur genocide camps and Mike Pompeo talking about it, right? So that was wiped out. So there is no way that, these Uyghur people knew about this, or if they did, they wouldn't have any sort of, lens to see this through, right?
Sure.
So this thousands of videos saying, Mike Pompeo, shut up, I saw your news, I hate you, is just such radical bullshit, right? So there's tons of examples.
Yeah, let's have a look at a few more.
大家好，我叫安满古丽，作为一名生长在新疆的维吾尔族人， 最近看新闻，我听到蓬佩奥说，新疆的维吾尔族群众被压迫、自由被限制等荒谬言论。
我又在网上看到了蓬佩奥对新疆的错误言论，他说对维吾尔族等少数民族犯下反人类罪。
I just got to say, like that in particular, you can see they had to retake that because he obviously he screwed up his lines. So you see he suddenly appears lower down on the stairs again. So he's walking up saying his lines and then suddenly he's appearing lower. So let's look at that again. See, bam, down. Say that line again. That was wrong.
Yeah.
So these are obviously completely scripted and forced.
Yeah, there's actually some key elements in this one.
Yeah, let's see.
等少数民族犯下反人类罪，这完全就是在胡说八道。新疆的经济发展取得了前所未有的成就，人民的生活也得到了明显的改善。宝贝儿，你幸福吗？
当然幸福啊！
蓬佩奥，你编织的弥天大谎只能印证你的险恶用心以及低劣的人品，等待你的将是历史公正的审判和清算。
Look at the family photo.
Yeah,
by the way.
yeah. Look, I mean,
It's
you
not
just
even unwrapped yet.
this contrived nonsense where he has to be like, oh, look, I'm sitting here with my daughter and we can play with games and stuff because we're rich or we're wealthy now.
I love the line, Xinjiang's unprecedented success. I mean, it's the kind of, you would never, this is not a net, I mean, I don't have to explain this to you. This is the most robotic scripted thing. And then they have to throw a child into it, which is super gross, right?
Yeah.
They make him say to his daughter, are you happy?
She's like, of
幸福
course,
吗？
of course
当
I'm
然
happy.
幸福。
Yeah.
Gross, super bad propaganda, right? This was coming up unprecedentedly. And when I saw it, I said, I have to cover this. I have to put this out there.
Sure.
And that was, again, this super rushed banda. This is, you can see what China does, like the Chinese government does when they are faced with disaster. Like, for example, right now, these leaked documents that we're about to get,
Yeah, they're calling it fake news.
They don't know what to do. They're freaking out. But this is a symptom of what they do when faced with proof that something horrible is happening.
Yeah, they do whataboutism and then they also just deny. But like we've said in the past with this particular, you can see the family photo there is in a new photo frame that still has the packaging on it.
Yeah.
This is very rushed and they just did a whole lot of these things which are obviously set up, not these people's real homes, just like use these model apartments, we're going to quickly decorate it, let's film, that kind of nonsense. Anyway, let's carry on.
There's more,
Yeah.
最近在网上看到蓬佩奥对新疆的一些不实指刺，我听到特别生气。
Again, they got like a university student, like, oh, I'm so angry about what I saw online that Pompeo said.
Yeah.
And there was, it's interesting, there was actually like a progression of how this worked. In the beginning, they didn't say things like, I saw it online. They would just be like, I heard what Pompeo said. Then later, when I did like expose stuff, or other people as well, did expose stuff about this, and then they were like, oh, they have to have a way that they saw it. Okay, they saw it online.
Yeah,
You know what I
exactly.
mean? Then they even, this is another progression. We actually had a hand in this. We pointed out that they're only getting these Uyghur people to speak Mandarin Chinese, which is the allegation is that they're being forced to get rid of their language, right? And that's been a constant thing. They did this in Inner Mongolia. They do this in any minority region.
Dude, I mean, like when I went into government buildings in China, they would have on the wall big placards that say you must speak Putonghua. You may not speak.
All universities as well.
Exactly. So it's kind of a thing. Like you're in China, you have to speak Mandarin.
Yeah.
Like, in pretty much any situation that's official and so on and so forth.
Right. So what's interesting here is that they started getting Uyghurs to speak Uyghur instead.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Let's see.
Bilmezsin qalayimqan bildirlab Xinjiang xalqining bayasha turmushiga ta'sir ko'rsatmoqchi bo'libsa. Qaylar bizning Xinjiangda hech qachon majbur emgak yo'q. Bizningki kishimiz nayki bayasha turmushimiz nayki yaxshi o'tadi. Biz Xinjiangdagi har millat xalqi onaning dastiga sich uyushib nayki bayasha yashayapti.
Yeah, we all live together like pomegranate seeds in harmony.
Yeah, so this is a old and very, very widespread piece of propaganda you'll find in Xinjiang. And it's CCP, it's Chinese government propaganda. And what it is that all minorities like live peacefully and happily together like the seeds of a pomegranate.
Yeah.
And what that means is that all minorities and stuff are harmonious together. And it's because of the government.
Sure.
We provide all these social programs, these benefits. Look at all the minorities on that poster cheering together because they're all so proud to be Chinese, right? Yeah. And what you were seeing was it got so lazy in this propaganda that they were verbatim using that propaganda in their propaganda to try to make YouTube videos. By the way, which Uyghur people don't go on YouTube.
No, they're not.
Can't.
They're not allowed to.
They're not allowed.
You go to
It's a crime.
jail. Yeah,
Right.
you go to jail.
So we started seeing massive holes, like glacial size holes in this propaganda,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, for sure.
There's just like one or two more. I just wanted to drive home. They took the student, the child element, which is always an important thing.
Yeah, they do that a lot. Okay.
So here they got a little Uyghur boy who's fully, been through the Han education system.
Right.
He's the model student, right? And this kid has no idea what Pompeo is.
No,
right?
of course not. No. Anyway, what does he
Yes.
say? Yeah.
小学4年级3班维吾尔族学生布尼亚加拉利丁。今天我要拆穿撒谎大王蓬佩奥的谎言。这是我的同班同学，也是我的好朋友杨礼光。
Oh yes. Give us a second. We'll be getting into that.
So yeah, just yeah.
There is a progression.
There was a
Okay.
progression in this propaganda, and it was a huge mistake for China to put this stuff out because it caught the attention of people like us.
Yeah.
It eventually caught the attention of mass media. It took a little while.
Yeah.
But they started to pick up on it, and then all of a sudden, more and more people were speaking out because
Yeah.
it became such a glaring issue. And this is the issue with China. When they try to cover something up, they really should be leaving it alone because there will be less attention on it. But when you put out thousands and thousands of videos within weeks of each other,
Yeah.
of these forced confessions and stuff, it gets people's attention. It becomes like a drama.
Yeah.
People are like, what the hell? Something really horrible must be going on
Absolutely.
there, right? And it turns out it is.
It is. And here's the thing, right? So we see the allegations get out there.
Yeah.
Then we see them start to run defense
Yeah.
by putting out all these, we're just happy Uyghurs. How dare you say that we are not living a happy life, That didn't really work. So
It
then,
didn't. It backfired.
yeah, they decided they bring in the foreign,
Well, let me tell you
Squad.
why. Let me tell you why they brought in foreigners.
Yeah.
When I say foreigners, I mean Westerners, right?
yes, Westerners.
So when they did the forced confession thing that I covered, the reason it backfired is because it looks so forced, right? But if then the allegations came. If there's no genocide in China, then why don't you let independent investigators in Xinjiang to
Sure.
go look at it, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, screw you, Five Eyes.
Well, remember they
Bullshit.
wouldn't allow
No.
any investigators to go and look, and
Right.
they still haven't to this day.
No, in fact, the UN, it's not even an investigation, but the UN visit is happening right now, and it's very timely with what's been leaked. But
Yeah.
before we get to the leak, what I want to say was that what their next course of action was, well, we have a bunch of foreigners that we, pay / are, we influence here that live in China, Westerners, Canadians, Americans, British people, Kiwis.
Yeah.
They live here. And what if we just get them to go to our Potemkin village, tourist areas in Xinjiang, and then it'll placate people that are making allegations like, why don't you let anyone in there?
Yeah.
Right? Well, we'll let some of them there. We'll guide them with multiple minders.
Yes.
And then people will say, oh, see, there are foreigners there, and they investigated.
Yeah,
Right?
that was their whole thing, is that they thought that they could get rid of this pressure. Because the foreign shills weren't being invited to go there. Not
Yeah.
for the longest time.
For you newbies out there, the foreign shills are people that work on behalf of the Chinese government to run defense for China's human rights abuses.
Yeah, and also just to do
Promote,
fluff
yeah.
pieces
Yeah,
and show
for
how amazing China's infrastructure is, or how much better China is than the West, or, the Belt and Road Initiative is great, or, that kind of stuff. Look at the high-speed rails.
Yeah.
That's kind of their job. They get paid to do these promotional trips, and sometimes... Honestly, sometimes it's harmless. Sometimes they get sent to a tourist spot to show how nice the tourist spot
Sure.
is. But at the same time, they always talk about like the government initiatives like poverty alleviation or infrastructure. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword. They get to do that kind of thing. But
You had great coverage on this.
yeah, I like to talk about this a lot because it's kind of a very immoral soft power thing.
Because
that
they know what's happening.
Yeah,
Right.
but it usually isn't a problem if it's just like, come to Sanya, the Hawaii of
Yeah,
China.
it's whatever.
By the way, look at this lovely high-speed rail that can take me here and back. I mean, it's cheesy, but it's okay. There's nothing
Yeah,
harmful in
sure.
that. But what they did when they went to Xinjiang is they helped divert attention away, they helped to whitewash, and they helped to deny genocide, which you're going to see right now. Because everybody's been hearing the rumors by now. Everybody knows this is true. Everyone's seen those, drone footage of all the locked up Uyghurs in the parking lot or whatever it was. Everyone's seen the pictures of the people in the internment camps.
And the camps themselves.
Yeah, people have seen the BBC documentary
Right.
that did that thing with the dancing
Right.
Uyghurs, and everybody knows by now something's up.
Yeah.
Okay, the forced labor accusations are out
Yeah.
there. The cotton picking thing is going on. Everybody now is talking about Xinjiang. The Chinese government will not allow any foreign independent investigators in. So then they call up the foreign shills. And this is very important. We're going to play out a little bit of what they did, and then we're going to discuss what's going on. And we're going to intersplice some of the leaked photos and discuss what's going on with this.
This is
okay?
where the leak starts.
Okay, so we'll start with the drunken Canadian over here. Okay.
好朋友杨礼光。
Yes, I'm up front and center. I'm loving it. You know what I mean? This is Xinjiang province. Oh no, this is Xinjiang Autonomous Region. This is supposed to be a place where people are suppressed and oppressed. I don't get it. Look behind me. Who the hell makes up these lies?
Now, before we get into this part over here, we have to first explain what was going on there. All of the compromised influencers went on these trips, these very guided trips to a few different places. I called it the Xinjiang Genocide Theme Park, where they went to the Urumqi Grand Bazaar, they went to Kashgar, ancient city.
Tick off these places where they're fully controlled by the Chinese government.
And then like now where you can see the drunken Canadians in the Hoten night market. Okay, and what that is it's just, they've got a venue set up there for tourists, okay? You go in there and you can sample local foods as well as just normal foods. You can have a drink and you can watch some Uyghurs dance on stage. They do like a performance. Now, I just have to point out that this is the laziest crap ever. This guy saying, look behind me, okay? He's like, oh, look, it's great.
I don't get it. Look behind me. Who the hell makes up these lies?
Okay, first of all, the people behind him there are not Uyghurs.
No.
This is an entertainment venue, and you will get Han people go to this. Tourists go to this. So people coming from outside of Xinjiang and also people local will go there as well because it's kind of a nice, vibey place to go. So the people that you see in the background here are not Uyghur people. He's using them as an example.
It's super patronizing. It's the Han people going to look at the zoo.
Yeah, but I mean, the point that he's like, look behind me. Who makes up these lies? But there aren't any Uyghurs there.
No.
He's like, look at the Han.
Drunk Han people.
He's like, look at the oppressors enjoying themselves here.
Yes, that's what it is.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's lazy, it's stupid, and none of these guys seem to know what's going on. And a lot of them obviously can't tell the difference between Han people, Chinese majority, and Uyghurs. Because those people sitting at the tables and those people there are the Han majority.
Correct.
Anyway, let's look at this first leaked document.
We're going to go through this, but there were over 3,000 leaked documents. And we're gonna go through that in depth. Not
this is
everyone,
the
obviously.
tip of the iceberg.
The tip of the iceberg. But look at this. This kid was 17.
Yeah.
Right? He got sent to the industrial park for re-education.
And why?
Re-education, by the way, is locked with guards, and we're going to show you the most disturbing leaked documents that you've seen that illustrate what happens when people want to get out of these camps, by the way. This is not a work camp.
Yeah.
Right.
This is not like, let's go learn a language.
This is watchtowers with guns pointed at you camp. Right?
Sure.
This 17-year-old boy, he went to the re-education camp because he studied some scripture.
Yeah.
He studied scripture. So again, religious persecution.
Yeah.
Right.
With somebody else who they also detained there, which they said for 15 days he studied scripture with somebody else.
Right.
And so he went to re-education camp. They got his blood type there. You know, some of the files here are fairly incomplete, but a lot of them are complete, which have like their sentence length and all that.
Yeah, but
some of these.
a lot of these are kids.
Yeah.
Right. Keep going.
Yeah, let's keep going.
Look at what the people are eating here.
Okay, now the reason we're showing this same stupid drunken Canadian, we'll get on to some others later, but he's like, look at the people here, they're eating. Those are all Han people. Okay? But he's showing it as if it's like, look, these are Uyghur people and they're free.
Yes.
Because that's the overall tone
that's
of
why
what he's saying.
There.
Yeah. But they're not Uyghur people. Those are the majority Han people. Anyway, let's get back to it.
Deer in the headlights. But that happens, it's the way it is. They drink beer here. Lots of it. They've got entertainment, they've got food, they've got beer. And again, I tell you, this is in Xinjiang province. This is not what you would expect from people that are oppressed and suppressed. Like, seriously, look at this. Do these people look like they're having a rough time?
Well, this girl certainly looks like she's having a rough time.
Can I, before we even talk about it, can I just talk about the fact that the Xinjiang minority are Muslim? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
The drunken Canadians walking around saying like how great it is that everyone's drinking beer and stuff. That's against the Muslim religion to drink alcohol.
You know what's interesting?
What?
It's actually against the government to not drink alcohol.
Yeah.
The Chinese government says abstaining from alcohol is extremism, or at least the road to extremism. So what they're celebrating is all these Han people that are openly drinking alcohol in a Muslim region.
Yeah. It's kind of like, well, we're just going to disrespect the living daylights out of you and your religion because we want to wipe it out.
Yes. They're selling pork.
We're going to set this little food hall open for everyone to come watch some Uyghurs dance, where everyone's going to drink, and get drunk off of alcohol and watch you and basically just disrespect you in the most way possible, really, the biggest way possible.
And it will be state sanctioned.
Yeah. And again, that stupid foreign influencer walking around there saying, look, nobody's oppressed here. Look at it. But those aren't Uyghurs. I have to keep pointing this out. That's not proof. The proof that you're showing the oppressors, so to speak, I'm not calling those particular people oppressors that were there. They're just having a good time or whatever. But you're showing the Han majority having a good time, watching some Uyghurs dance, getting drunk and eating whatever they're eating over there as proof that Uyghurs aren't in trouble is ridiculous.
It's outlandish.
Anyway, what is wrong with this girl? What happened to her?
One of almost 3,000, leaked.
Remember, we can't show you all, but we are going to show you a couple of these that we just quickly isolated for you here.
So in this category, she was sent to a new internment camp, which was D420, which is apparently the code for the camp. Mm-hmm. And in this one, she was learning about women. Where she was obviously some sort of lecture she was listening to, and it was illegal, right? Yes. So anything that's teaching, like for example, if you listen to Radio Free America broadcast or Radio Free Asia or whatever, or BBC broadcast that's talking about Islam. Right, or you listen to a podcast about how to be a proper Muslim or something like this.
Yeah,
that's basically.
If you read that, she actually was arrested because she was learning that women should have shame to let strangers look at you, and so they should wear veils. And her husband was encouraging her that she should wear a veil.
Correct.
Which is, of course, it's a part of the Muslim religion. Sure. This is something that. Whether you think it's ridiculous or not, you shouldn't be thrown in jail for.
No, I mean, just like you shouldn't be thrown in jail for not drinking and smoking because they were throwing people in jail for that.
So this was imprisonment just because she was listening to...
she got imprisonment. Yeah. She went to jail for a crime that will ruin her life forever because she listened to a broadcast about how women should wear veils.
Yeah, it's because somebody's husband told her.
I mean,
women are ashamed.
She was
women
influenced by this.
See other strangers as sins. Yeah, you must also wear veils to keep away from strange men.
Yes.
And under the instigation of her husband, this person, who's another person that they arrested, of course, was influenced by religious extremism. Okay, and wearing this and that apparel. So again, it's just. You wanted to study, your faith? Well, screw you. You're going to jail.
Yeah.
To not collect 200,
Tell me, honestly.
Yes, honestly. Here's another one. What do we got here?
So she was preliminarily sentenced, right? So this is another sentence as a crime.
Yeah.
Right? Do you know what her crime was? Illegal study of scriptures.
Yeah.
Yet again, she's studying her own religion. She goes to jail. Right?
Yeah. Great.
And yes, everybody, we are special. These tables are set up just for us. There's wine there, there's treats, and there's going to be a lot of food. So we're going to sit here, we're going to watch the show, and we're going to eat, drink, and be merry.
Now, it's very telling because this particular moment, he was part of a group There are a bunch of other influences there. I think about another, at least another 5 or 6 that I can identify. You'll see later in the footage. And they were all there on the same trip. So they got Instagrammers, they got YouTubers, they got various different, influencers. And they paid for their trip to go out there. They paid them some money. They paid for them to go and stay in nice hotels there. And they took them to these specific spots, these 3 specific spots they always take them to. Like I said, they're Urumqi Grand Bazaar, Kashgar Old Town, and they're where you can see the oldest mosque or whatever. They took them then to this Hoten night market and for this venue for like dancing and stuff, right?
So they allow these people, actually, they promote these people to get liquored up, eat pork, and then force Uyghurs to dance for them.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, they set them up in front row seats because they want them to film this. This is the whole point. The only reason they're there is to film look how happy the Uyghurs are dancing around, right? This is the whole point. So they set them up, give them 5-star treatment, these foreign influencers, so that they can film and tell the entire world, look what a great time we're having. Look at how amazing Xinjiang is. Everybody's happy here. Look, it's so much fun. We can eat and drink and do what we want. What's this genocide?
Free food and alcohol for promoting a genocide.
Yeah. Anyway, let's
covering it up.
Yeah, let's see what else. What do we got here?
So this guy, he was 51 years old. He was detained. So he was arrested and thrown in jail.
Oh, and the reason he wanted to grow a beard.
Well, yeah, the first time he was detained, by the way, is because he went to mosque 5 times a day. Then he grew a beard, and he didn't want to sing or dance at weddings and funerals, right? So they thought that was super suspicious. They were like, "You're going to jail."
Maybe what happened was they had some film crews over, and he wasn't dancing like all the other happy Uyghurs, and so they're like, "Well, you're not dancing, are you? Crack the whip, you go to jail."
So basically, he listened to someone else's persuasion to grow a beard, and then was detained. So it looks like he was messed up 3 times. Right?
I mean, you do understand that growing a beard is, well, I mean, for a lot of people it's a personal fashion choice, but in the Muslim faith it's religious, right? Growing a beard. China doesn't want that, okay? No. And unless you're that old man outside the Kashgar ancient village, by the way.
Yeah, then you're allowed to because it fits.
Because it fits the image for like the cameras.
Yes.
But like if you're just your average Uyghur,
they don't want you to grow a beard.
Yeah, no, don't grow a beard because it shows that you might, be interested in.
If you
Islam.
you guys have to understand, this is like we're showing you stuff that was leaked in these documents, but there are over 1 million people in these camps and imprisoned, right? Out of not that many million Uyghur people in China.
Yeah, this is the tip of the iceberg, and the reason being that they've changed the encryption and so on what they've been doing. So a lot of these, as you can see, it's all from 2018.
Yeah,
it's that far back.
Yeah, because they've had to. I can't even imagine what's going on now. I just wanted to throw in a little detail. They said the beard thing. I saw the chat. Some people are like, how could they ban beards? That's absolutely insane. You can't even buy a knife without them engraving your information on it.
It's a QR code on there.
It's a QR code on there, and then in public places they have to be attached to with a lock,
a steel tether.
In a steel tether. Right?
Yeah,
it's registered to you.
You have to understand that.
And that's a cooking knife, by the way.
And you know what? The expats living in China will be like, yeah, whatever, I've never seen anything like that. It's regional.
Yes.
Okay, just like Shanghai right now is still under heavy lockdown, it doesn't mean that people living in Beijing have the same issues. It's different, right?
Correct.
And you don't know it's happening. China's very good at isolating different areas, the Chinese government, right? So when this crap is going on in Xinjiang where, no, you're not allowed to have a beard, you're not allowed to, have a knife, all this kind of crap, you will be taken away if we catch you praying.
Right.
That's happening there.
Yeah, it's not Beijing. Xinjiang has the highest imprisonment rate in the world.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
But, anywhere else in the country, you might see someone with a beard or something, and it'll be like, whatever.
Like, hey, that's fine.
Yeah, and they'll be like, what's this I heard about them not allowing people to have beards? No, it's only in Xinjiang.
You're not in Xinjiang.
Yeah.
Right. Anyway,
let's continue. So this poor guy got sent away for having a beard.
Oh, and look at what's going on over here. I'm telling you, I've never seen so many oppressed and suppressed people in my frickin' life.
Yeah, you haven't seen so many oppressed and suppressed people because you're not near the camps and you're not actually out in public. You're in a freaking tourist destination where they have a dance for you and a bunch of Han people watching the dance. This stupidity and this arrogance and this disgusting behavior by these foreigners really, really gets to me. And that's why I've made it a bit of a thing to go after these guys, because I can't stand them getting away with this kind of shit. Doing this genocide denial propaganda on behalf of the CCP.
While they throw children in jail.
Yeah. which is over here. What, we got a 16-year-old.
16-year-old boy. So this boy, this is wild to me. Right, take us out of this. So
let's read it.
Yeah. So this boy, he was 16 years old. He basically, with some other kids, stole or smashed into houses. Smashed houses of Han residents, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
vacant houses.
Vacant houses. So there's empty houses. And by the way, this is alleged, right?
Yeah.
Allegedly, some kids, think about some naughty teenagers or something, right? Went into some empty houses. So these could be structures being built, ghost town
probably
type
those
stuff.
like empty apartments, yeah.
But the most important thing, there's two important things. They rounded up all of his family, 18 members of his family for this. They took down his grandmother, his parents, elder brother, 3 uncles, 4 aunts, 3 brothers from church or from the mosque, apparently. 3 cousins and another cousin. And not only this, the most important takeaway from this is that they highlight in the police report that the houses belong to Han Chinese people.
Yes. I think we need to really focus on that for a minute here. Okay? It's not like, oh, this guy this guy and his friends smashed some windows of some vacant houses. No. They dared smash the windows of our Han supremacy majority,
that's
peoples.
The takeaway. Yeah.
It's like if the British were still in India and they were like, oh, this Indian dared to damage, a British person's house, his colonial house. Let's round him up and his families. It's that vibe. It really is. They dared to vandalize a Han person's vacant house. And so we're going to take him and his entire family now.
Right.
And it's hard to say what happened there, but there's been so much development out there to push Han people out there. So what's happened is there's probably, just like they build everywhere else, there's ghost cities.
Oh, there's
probably
plenty there.
Built a bunch of new developments there, and they're sitting there vacant. And these guys, I don't know, maybe they built it on top of their playground where they used to play or something, and they're just like, whatever, and they went out and smashed these things. Maybe it was malice. Maybe it was just kids messing about. Who knows what the deal was? We can't say for sure. What we can say for sure is that this guy got sent to re-education because he dared to damage a Han person's vacant house.
But they got 18 of his family members because of him.
His grandmother.
And you'll see this is a common thread. Mm-hmm. And this is why these leaked documents are so damning, is it's not like this person committed terrorism, so we got this guy. Yeah. It's like, we got this guy, by the way, who didn't even commit terrorism. He just used a VPN or did whatever. Yeah. And we rounded up everyone around him.
Yes.
Because you'll see this pop up over and over again, related to the people that were detained. Around the people that were detained. We're in the house of somebody that was detained.
Yeah, we're speaking to people who've been previously detained.
Right. And it's this how North Korea does this. It punishes 3 generations of your family. You're seeing exact similar security measures in Xinjiang here with the Chinese authorities.
This is how the Chinese Communist Party operates anyway. If you've ever seen what happens to dissidents when they leave China, they always go to harass the person's grandparents and parents in China. Yeah. That's how they do it. So they're doing this with the Uyghurs.
Correct.
All right, let's see what's next.
I have never in my life seen so many oppressed and suppressed people ever.
Okay, well, I mean, maybe you're starting to see some now, you stupid drunken Canadian. What have we got here?
This is a 60-year-old woman. She was sent in for re-education. Why? Because persons involved, category 6. Now, this is something I wanted to bring up, is we don't know a lot of these codes now.
Yeah.
And these are probably going to be, this was just released, by the way.
Yeah.
We're going to see these kind of deciphered, because even in the Chinese, when we read these, they're obviously internal codes, that mean other things. But the age went all the way up to 74 years old.
Yeah.
They were getting grandmas that probably have nothing to do with this.
Yeah.
Again, like that last kid, related to someone thrown in re-education or detention.
And I think it's important for us to point this out, because remember, the whole supposed reason behind this is to stop extremism.
Yeah.
Why are we seeing tiny children and elderly people?
Yeah, for example,
elderly
that boy,
women. Yeah.
that boy, he was actually 14 when he was arrested. He was only 16 in 2018.
Yeah.
He was 14. And that wasn't for religious extremism.
No, because he smashed a window.
For vandalism.
Yeah.
Right? But they rounded up 18 of his family members, including an old lady.
No, I mean, and I know the Chinese, the way Chinese society operates. And when you've got naughty kids doing naughty stuff, usually the parents have to apologize and pay compensation. That's usually what happens throughout China. So if you've got a 14-year-old boy goes and damages someone's house or damages their vehicle or whatever, there's usually a big brouhaha about who has to pay what, but the parents are the ones that are called in to pay for that.
Correct.
They're not sent to a frickin' re-education camp. But if you're in Xinjiang and you're a Uyghur, you don't get to pay a fine or get to pay compensation. You get sent to re-education. And now if you're a grandmother as well, you get sent to re-education too, because you're apparently like a huge threat to the Han majority there.
You can see how this works. This is why it's being declared a genocide.
Yeah.
This is not like, let's sort some people out and give them jobs. This is how to wipe out, brainwash, and destroy an entire culture.
Yeah, it's a cultural genocide.
Yeah.
You know? Now, one thing that's interesting to note is in a lot of these, because these are kind of mugshot pictures, these 3,000 odd that were released, or close to 3,000. Whenever you see a woman in the pictures, you very often in the background will see a female,
A Han woman.
like Han, I don't know if she's a
Kind of
warden.
college age.
She's wearing gloves because I presume to them it's too dirty to touch these poor people over here. But you'll see with the men, though, occasionally you'll see there's like a dude armed with a baton and a helmet ready to like beat them if they get out of hand.
But the women, for some reason, especially the elderly women, got this Han girl with gloves, and you'll see her more clearly in the other ones.
Anyway, let's continue on.
Hello, Guelo's just getting a beer because this is what I do. I'm supposed to be on the job, but my job is drinking beer. Can I get this over? I just about screwed up, and I'm live streaming with this beautiful young.
Okay, we just have to. There's a reason that I included this clip as well.
Okay.
Is we've talked about Techie Rachel before. You've talked
Miss
about
Wow,
her,
yeah.
Miss Wow, this girl over here, and she is a propagandist for China, usually to do with the military hardware. She likes to go and make videos about how China's missiles are great.
I covered her in depth. She
Yeah.
basically goes and says, look at how amazing the new J-20 fighter jet is from China.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it's also probably a good thing to point out that the drunken Canadians being incredibly disrespectful to Uyghurs by drinking and getting horribly drunk.
I mean, to be fair, the entire setup here, set up by the Chinese government, by the way, is have Baijiu, which is Chinese hard liquor. The entire thing is disrespectful and a slap in the face. You wouldn't walk into a Catholic church wearing corpse paint and a pentagram, right?
Yeah, unless you're like an edgelord goth.
Yeah, or you're just being a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Right? You wouldn't do it, but that's what this is.
Yeah,
Right.
That's exactly what's going on. Yeah, I mean, there it is. You can see all the hardtack in the background. You know, you can see. I cut out the
It's all
parts.
liquor.
He's walking past the food stalls. They're selling pork and you know.
Pork pig's feet.
Yeah, you know,
The
like
most disrespectful shit you've ever seen.
Yeah. Anyway, the reason why you're seeing this clip is just to show that this was part of a big propaganda effort. They've got this.
She's a CCP employee.
You've got a CCP propagandist who does weapons technology propaganda.
Yeah.
Who has like 2 million Facebook followers.
Yeah.
Okay.
By the way, and almost no interaction with her.
Of course,
posts.
it's all bots.
It's bots.
But you know, anyway, the fact of the matter is, we just had to show that. So here we go.
Lady, Miss Wow.
Miss Wow, how are you?
I wonder why they call her Miss Wow. Wow. Why do they call you Miss Wow? Is it because you're beautiful?
Oh, thank you. Because I keep surprising people.
You keep surprising people. Oh, wow. Wow. Yes, it. Look at this. Could life get any better?
Not for this guy. By the way, that creepy old drunk hitting on the young girls makes me kind of sick.
Yeah, well,
Anyway.
what do you expect?
Yeah.
It's not a character.
How about this boy who seems rather teared up?
Yeah, so this guy, he was 18 in 2018, so quite possibly much younger when he was re-educated.
And why?
Because he was a relative of a detainee. And
Yeah.
yet again, Winston and I were going through this for hours and hours, like all these people, and looking at what their crimes were. And a huge chunk of them are just being relatives or associates. Like, I'm not even talking about like working together, just people that know people that were detained.
Well, I'm thinking of the logic behind this from the Chinese government's point of view. They're probably like, his father is into some extremism stuff or is into reading the scriptures or whatever, so he
Whatever
must
they
too.
come up with. He has a beard.
So because he's related and he's his son, he's probably doing it too. So we may as well just send him into the.
Let's throw him in there.
And I think we have to realize that the emotional impact behind this is terrible.
Yeah, you think about it. You go ahead.
Yeah, it's just like you're taking people's families and you're tearing them apart. They've been taking fathers away from mothers. They've been taking fathers away from children. It's an awful situation. They've been taking children away, they're tearing families apart with no proper reason, and there's no recourse. If the Chinese government comes along and says, you know what, we heard that you were listening to a podcast.
Right.
And that's...
You don't get a trial.
Yeah, that's not like, screw you, you're coming with us right now. And they take them away and you don't know what's going to happen.
No.
Why do you think you keep seeing Uyghur people across the world crying and saying, I haven't seen my father for like 5 years. I don't know what happened to him, because they don't know what happened to them. They get taken away sometimes to never return.
We were on the phone the other day on Skype on a video call with a Uyghur, and she hasn't seen her family, but she knows exactly what happened because the Chinese government contacted her to say what was going to happen. Showed her family, and she was, of course, crying. It's hard not to get super choked up because you don't know if you're going to see them again.
Yeah.
When they take you away, you're gone.
Yeah.
So you look at this little boy, right?
Yeah.
And you can see he's crying, obviously. They've taken him probably from his home, ripped his dad away, separated him from his brothers and mom and sisters, right?
Yep.
And then thrown him, by the way, this white wall that you keep seeing is in the jail.
Yeah, we'll
You'll
show
see.
pictures of that in a minute.
And of course these people are going to be upset because you don't know what the hell just happened.
Yeah.
It's a blindside, and it's super messed up.
And there's no one's got your back.
No one.
That's the thing.
Absolutely no one.
No one's got your back.
You can't do anything.
The international, anyone in the international press or anything tries to talk about this, and they get shut down by a million tankies and screwed up people who've got business interests in China. You've got H&M and all those big companies that, you know, they're being used for forced labor. They're using the Uyghurs for forced labor for these people, but because they've got so many business interests, they keep quiet about it, and they don't criticize China, and they kowtow. And these people are really having a terrible, terrible time here.
H&M is one of the companies that came under fire for standing up.
Yeah, for standing up. But then they kind of backed down because they got boycotted and stuff. And that's how the Chinese government brings people to heel.
Right.
You know?
Correct.
Anyway, let's see how this continues.
He made great videos of opinions.
And you wonder, do they sell alcohol here? But yes, great love fun beer. So I gotta go sit down now.
Yeah, you do have to go sit down now. Now, I mean, the thing is, I just want to point out again how absurd this whole idea of sending these foreigners in to do genocide denial propaganda is. And I had a chat. In fact, let me play this little clip so that I can be fair about this, okay? I want you to take a look at this quickly.
Like they were also dancing, have a lot of fun. I mean, you were so much oppression, right?
You know what these Middle Eastern like areas do really well? Coffee.
All right, so now I want to be fair here because I quite often rag on our friend here, the floppy hat vegetable lord. But, you know, he tried his best to avoid the genocide denial, you know.
Yeah.
And you can see Li Jingjing, if you're not familiar with her, she works for CGT and she's a state media reporter.
Yeah.
She's part of the... Yeah, she's a propagandist. She runs up and she was doing... This is a separate trip, by the way, from the one we saw earlier. But her whole point here is to try and do genocide denial.
Yes.
Okay, that's what she's doing. That's the reason behind this trip, going to see happy Uyghurs dancing. And you can hear her say that.
Like they were also dancing, have a lot of fun. I mean, you were so much oppression, right?
See, so much oppression, right? Again, it's that whole...
Facetious.
It's that there's no oppression here. See, look, people are dancing and having fun. And in, you know, floppy head vegetable lord's defense, he immediately tried to change the subject to say, you know what?
Nobody wants to be tied to that.
He's like,
I get it.
Do you know what's really good around here? Coffee.
Yeah.
You know, because he didn't like go, yeah, you're right.
No, you should.
So props to him. Props. But I did have a discussion with him on Twitter the other day, and it's something that I really have to just recount here, is that people like him went along with this genocide denial squad, okay? He tried his best not to get involved, but the fact that he went along with it was the bad idea, because he was used in state propaganda to show that everything is okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, look, here's a foreigner looking at the Uyghurs dancing, so that means the Uyghurs are happy, whether he said that or not.
Right.
And he said to me, you know, why should he not go there? There are cultures to see and, you know, people living their lives. And why should he not be able to go and show that part of it? And my rebuttal to that was during the concentration camp in Auschwitz, right? In Poland. While that was going on, there were still grandmas making Polish sausage. There were still people doing their tapestries. There were still people
playing in the park.
Yeah, you could go into Poland, into Auschwitz, and you could go around and see the lovely parts of Polish culture that were going on in the area. No big deal, right? You could have done what you want. Look how great Auschwitz is because of this and this and this. But the fact that there was a camp there and the rumors were out there and you kind of knew what was going on means you should not have gone there.
Correct. It's not the time to do that.
It's not the time to go look at Uyghur culture when you've got these concentration camps and this. So that's my biggest issue I have with this gentleman in particular. But I did want to point out that he did not go out there and say, like, there's no genocide.
Right.
Even though he was
like some of them.
Yeah. Unlike some of them, like the drunken Canadian. And once again, just to show you that that's the motivation behind this, here we have the Chinese state media employee coming up.
Like they were also dancing, have a lot of fun. I mean, you're so much oppression, right?
You know what these Middle Eastern areas do really well? Coffee.
He's like,
Xinjiang is so fucked up.
She's a wrangler.
Yeah.
For all these guys.
She's a handler.
Yeah, she's a handler. Yeah. So much oppression, right? Yeah, there is a lot of oppression, but just because you're in a freaking tourist market, you don't see it. And this is what annoys me the most out of all of this crap.
Yeah.
Go to Disneyland in the States. Go to Universal Studios.
There's no homeless drug problem in LA if you went to Disneyland.
Yeah, dude, you go in there. It's like, wow, it's great. There's Mickey Mouse dancing around like I don't know what, but you're like, wow, this is fantastic. Look, there's a roller coaster.
Yeah,
I can buy snacks.
For us, we go to frickin' Knoebels and we ride an old wooden roller coaster.
Yeah.
And we're riding around and we're eating cotton candy and all these old treats, in this picturesque little town, right? It has nothing to do with what's happening on the streets of Philadelphia.
No.
Right?
No.
It's like
the homeless issues, the prison problems that you have in the United States, the fact that they tax you so bloody much and your freaking healthcare costs you so much.
Yes.
I mean, those are real issues. But the issues about police brutality, whatever, you can pick anything. I don't know, like bombing of Middle Eastern countries, anything, any problem that America has, you will not find in Disneyland or wherever, Grand Rapids, Michigan, whatever, okay? You're just not going to find it there.
Sure.
You're not going to find it when you go somewhere like nice. No. And you're not going to find detained Uyghurs in concentration camps if you go to a bloody street where they sell carpets.
Right.
Which I hate, by the way.
Right.
I really hated that whole Persian. My mother loves those carpets and shit. I hate that stuff.
Another story for another time.
Another time. But I'm just saying you're not going to find it there.
No.
So this state reporter coming to see, there's no oppression, right? Of course there's no freaking oppression on your damn carpet street.
Right.
Okay, let's move on.
This is a leaked photo, by the way.
Yeah, this is one of the leaked photos. Now, remember we were saying occasionally you will see there's guards. Here's one. You can see behind.
So you see that white grayish wall?
Yeah.
This is in the prison.
Yeah.
Right. So they have the male guard here.
They just actually put them up against any wall. You'll see because there's multiple ones.
Yeah. But they're
any
blank
wall.
In the camps.
Yeah, they're in the camps. And there you can see the guy with the baton and his ID, and this is not made up.
No.
Let's move on.
Detained for re-education. So this is another leaked photo inside a camp.
Yeah.
As you can see, by the way, you have the this is inside a police station. Looks like actually. You have Uyghur people that are employed by the state, and actually they do this for a reason. It's better and it's easier for them to get locals to be able to round up potential criminals in their mind because they speak the language and they can integrate amongst the populace to try to find leaks or moles and things like this, right?
Yeah.
So you'll see a lot of the CCP, officials / police, they are in fact Uyghur people.
Yeah.
Anyway, they round them up, oftentimes shave their heads. You saw that in the drone footage, in the detention camp footage where they're blindfolded and shaved.
Yeah.
Let's keep going.
I mean, they shave their heads. They obviously shave their beards too.
Yes, of course.
Here you can see this is also from the leaked photos. And I think it's kind of important, I'll get us out of there, where you can see how they put hoods on them and shackles.
Yes, and that's actually in a document I'll read to you in a minute.
Yeah. And they force them to crouch down. This is what they do with criminals in China. And I guess it's a way to control them so they can't run or whatever.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's a little excessive to have... How many police there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 that I can kind of make out.
8 on screen.
Yeah, 8 on screen with batons and riot shields and whatever else for 2 dudes that are shackled up with hoods on. Yeah. You know what I mean? I feel like it's a bit excessive.
No shit.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So We've also seen over here, you can see the military are involved as well.
Yeah.
Okay. And
you'll have Han people in there as well.
Yeah, those are the Han PLA over there. You know, with their automatic weapons, which, you know, that's the Chinese equivalent of whatever you call it, AR-15, M4 actually, because it's a military one. But it's a bullpup design and it fires its own kind of round. But that's the proper PLA military gun. So that's like the proper army. So they have the army in there with guns. Just in case.
One victim, or is it?
I think it's the same. I think it's the two
Gotcha.
over there. I mean, you need how many cops with batons, riot shields, and armed the army?
Oh well, we know. We were in a hotel room with those same guns pointed at us with the SWAT team and the PLA.
It's overkill because this apparently this hooded, shackled man on the floor, those two hooded shackled men on the floor there are more powerful than the army and the police combined.
Correct.
What is it? It's like a Marvel superhero movie or something here where they, you know, there's some superhuman under there. Anyway, it's just ridiculous to see this. Okay, now I wanted to show a little bit more of the whole foreign influencer propaganda, the whole genocide denial propaganda, just to show you again how ridiculous this is. So take a look here.
My friends, I highly doubt, just for my first day here in Xinjiang, I highly doubt that all this false claims about genocide against the Uyghurs, it's not true, my friend.
I have to talk about this very quickly. Now, I don't know if you've seen my video about this. It's called Moron Exposes the Chinese Government. But whatever the case, again, this is the Urumqi Grand Bazaar, which is literally a tourist site for Han people to go. If you look behind this turd over here, you will see those are not Uyghur people.
No.
Those are Han people, Han majority people. You can tell. Remember, Uyghur people are very striking in their appearance compared to Chinese people. They're very different. You can tell them 100%. Apart from Chinese people because they, like we've shown you before, they have very different features. Usually different hair color as well, different eye color, all that kind of thing. He's walking around in a tourist site saying, look, there's no genocide here because the Han people are walking around shopping.
In the capital.
Yeah, in the capital in a tourist site.
Yeah.
The sloppiness of this propaganda that they did is just off the wall.
That's insane.
Yeah. Anyway, let's continue.
Listen, it's absolutely not true.
It is true. And there's proof. Lots of proof.
There's the proof.
Again, he uses a sidewalk with Han people walking over a sidewalk, which, by the way, that other side of the sidewalk is still the Grand Bazaar.
Yeah.
It's like in two sections. So you walk over that sidewalk, through that crosswalk.
That's where he was allowed with his minders.
He's only allowed within the tourist area. So it's like
1,000 miles from a camp.
Yeah, literally. I mapped it out. It'll take 15 hours to drive from there to one of the nearest camps. But no, this is proof that there's no genocide in Xinjiang. It's ridiculous crap.
The Uyghur people over here are really at peace, man. But when you walk past them with a camera like what I do right now, they kind of look at you weird because there's so many damage done by Western media in this beautiful area that these people don't really like it.
Now I want you to pay attention to these people in the background. Pay no mind to the compromised influencer. He's not of any importance. Look here. Notice these faces because they turn up again and again. I suppose I need to tell you where this guy is. This is the Urumqi Grand Bazaar. It's an international tourist attraction. It's kind of akin to Disneyland. See, there they come up again. It's just there for tourist tat. You can buy stuff, and they've got a food hall, and they've got all this stuff you can try out. And this is actually the first stop on any genocide denial tour. I've spoken about it in the past. Here you see the minders again. These are minders. They're following him around because they're the ones who took him there. They're following him around and making sure that he doesn't go off the beaten path, talk to anyone that he's not supposed to talk to, or do anything that he's not supposed to do. You see, they tried to portray people like this guy as being sort of independent and walking around and just having a natural experience in Xinjiang. However, as you can see, because this guy in particular is very sloppy, you can see the news crews in the background here that are busy filming him and taking photos for the local press. And you can see his minders that are constantly there. You can see the same people turning up and following him and watching his every move. Now, this international tourist attraction, this Urumqi Grand Bazaar, is divided into a couple of areas. It's actually not that big. He's walking around in circles. But never mind the fact that the government minders keep popping up because they're going everywhere with him. I want you to pay attention to this road that runs in between the two sections of the Grand Bazaar. There's a double walkway that I want you to pay attention to over there specifically. Again, same people keep popping up because they're watching his every move. But this double walkway that he in the beginning pointed out as proof that there's no genocide links the one side of the bazaar to the other. So he hasn't even left the tourist site, and he won't.
Me being here, only a few hours so far, and seeing this, happy people, and a well-operating city, I really highly doubt that those claims are true. I am convinced that it's not true.
Well, I mean, how about this then? How about this? This is somebody who is not being oppressed or, not being anything happening to her. What's going on with her?
She was thrown into re-education when she was 14 years old.
Okay, and why?
We don't know. We don't know why. But I'm assuming it has something to do with her school, just because it mentions students. But a lot of these are not clear reasons. But re-education for a 14-year-old girl.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, brilliant.
Great.
Brilliant.
Fantastic.
These guys really have no soul, these other guys. How about this? Somebody else. What did she do?
This young lady, she was thrown probably internment. We're looking at jail time here. Gathering a crowd to disturb social order. Now, you might think of that from a Western lens and be like, oh, it's like some sort of protest or something like that.
Yeah.
Gathering a crowd to disturb social order in Chinese definition is anything.
It's anything.
It's anything they want.
You can get into trouble for any kind of a crowd in China. In fact, because... And this, I think, happened after the whole 1989 Tiananmen Square massacre. I think that's one of the main reasons to kick it off. And the Falun Gong issue when they used to gather in groups. They made it illegal to gather in a crowd.
Yes.
So I remember myself causing a ruckus when I was giving food and sitting and drinking with a beggar in Shenzhen.
Yeah.
And this massive crowd formed around. The police were there almost in an instant to break it up and see what was going on. Because forming a crowd... They're worried about mobs gathering together to riot against the government or whatever it is, right? So any kind of big crowd is illegal.
To be honest, it's most likely an excuse to get someone.
Sure.
It's like spreading rumors is a crime.
Sure.
You can do that for having a chat online. Not even spreading a rumor. They can use that law.
Yeah. Let's see what pops up next.
These are all part of the leak, by the way.
Yeah, of course. These are the new leaked photos.
So one thing I do want to point out about this is that this is 3,000 people out of 1 million, right? Yeah. So it's just a drop in the bucket.
It's a tip of the iceberg, and these are the older files. You can see by the dates.
Yes, but this is only from a tiny little part of the province of Xinjiang.
Yes.
Only a tiny little slice, so you can understand how unbelievably prolific this is.
Xinjiang is massive.
Right.
Massive. Like you said, just from a small part.
This young boy was, God knows when he was. In 2018, he was only 19, so it was prior to that. Suspected of illegal departure, so he was someone that was involved in people that were crossing a border or going somewhere illegally. Now, keep in mind, Uyghur people, according to the Chinese government, do not have the same travel privileges as other Han Chinese people. So you see a lot of apologists talking about this. They're like, well, if they couldn't leave, then how did some of these people get out?
Yeah.
Right? People in Xinjiang, other than Han people, do not enjoy the same travel freedoms as Han people.
No, they don't. That's why you don't get Uyghur tourists all over the place.
No, otherwise you'd see a lot of them, right?
And you would see a shit ton of refugees.
That's true.
Unfortunately,
the security apparatus means that there's one camera for every 2 people in the entire country. Probably twice as many in Xinjiang, by the way.
Yeah.
And it is almost impossible to get
Travel
out.
is incredibly restricted within Xinjiang itself. Never mind like anywhere near the borders there.
So this poor guy tried to get out.
Yeah, this is the biggest thing because a lot of the tankies and the people that, I don't know, cheer on the Chinese government, they always have that excuse. They're like, well, if it's so bad, why don't you see a whole lot of refugees? The reason is they're not allowed to leave. In fact, right now, because of the COVID lockdowns, Chinese people aren't allowed to leave.
Correct.
So that's the thing. It's always easy to say, oh yeah, what about XYZ? When it happens elsewhere in China, you get to finally see what the Chinese government is capable of. When they lock everybody down in their houses in Shanghai for 60 plus days.
First world city.
Yeah. And the richest people in China who live in Shanghai, if they can get locked down, if the foreigners can get locked down, if everybody can get locked down in Shanghai, well, guess what? Now you can believe that when they want to lock down the Uyghurs, they lock them down. Because if they can lock you down, if they can prevent you from leaving the country, that's what they've been doing to the Uyghurs for years.
Correct.
And years.
That's a good analogy.
Yeah, and finally, I hope some people's eyes are opening. These idiots are like, why don't they just leave if they don't like it? They can't.
No.
Okay?
It's impossible.
Yeah. 100% impossible.
You try to leave.
Yeah.
This is what happens when you try to leave. Look at this poor guy.
Yeah.
This kid.
You get thrown in a freaking re-education camp. So this happens to you. It happens to your neighbor. It happens to your friends. It happens to your family. And you're like, well, that's what happens if you try to leave, you know?
Imagine you try to go to, you as an American, let's just say, if there's Americans watching. Mm-hmm. You try to go to Canada, right? You go to see a concert up in Canada.
Right.
You get caught by the cops. They deport you back, right? This is what happens. A lot of these countries will be complicit in helping snatch these people to send back to the Chinese government.
You've heard about this, right? Now you know why it's such a thing.
You go to Canada to see a concert. You go back and you get thrown into a forced labor re-education camp because of illegal departure. Here we go, guys.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no analogy to use. This is hell on earth.
It's terrible. Yeah, let's see what's next. It'll come. As far as the Chinese government is concerned, the only thing Uyghurs and Kazakhs and minorities in China do are wear funny clothes and dance, because that's all they want to show. Oh, and have big elaborate feasts always laid out on a table. You'll find that in all of these fake propaganda, genocide denial videos out there. I want you to pay attention, though, to the minders, the government minders outside the window looking in. Not only them looking in from outside, but also in the room. You've got two female government minders, one on her phone in the background and one sitting on the bed. Just pay attention.
Ladies and gentlemen, the party is heating up in this ordinary Kazakh house. Woo! That's pretty awesome. Wow, check it out. Whoa, they're even moving a table now. Now the party starts, my friends. Woo-hoo! Let's go. Hey! This is cool. That's a real Kazakh dance.
And of course, before we continue with this, I just wanted to again point out this absolute ridiculousness where they took these influencers around and set them up in this fairy tale bullshit idea that, these happy Uyghurs and Kazakhs and stuff in Xinjiang.
Tajiks. They took in all the minorities.
Yeah. They just love to dance.
Yeah.
They just
love dancing. And it's so ridiculous. It's the most patronizing thing you've ever seen.
Yeah.
They don't have normal lives. They just dance for people. oh, here comes the white guy, get everyone to dance, move the table out of the way. Meanwhile, the minders, CCP Han Chinese minders in the window, making sure that nothing goes awry.
Yeah, and the minders in the room
too, yeah.
It's disgusting. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's like taking a stereotype and then just amplifying it up.
Yes.
So I don't even know what we could compare that to.
No.
Like, you just have to...
I'm struggling to find analogies for this because it's so outlandish.
It's kind of like, French people like baguettes, right?
Yeah.
Let's go to a French person's home and all they have are baguettes.
And they're holding them in both of their hands.
They're baking baguettes. They're like playing sword fight with baguettes. They're eating baguettes. It's just baguettes from because that's apparently what French people do. That's
and there's armed cops outside making sure they don't put that baguette down.
Exactly.
Don't you dare drop
I know,
the baguette.
it's terrible. Anyway, this continues a little bit. It's important to show this, to give context again.
Yeah, to show how they've been trying to run defense.
Yeah, and how they've been trying to hide this now, which has been leaked and what people have known has been going on all along. These paid influencers go to these cherry-picked tourist sites to go show everybody that everyone in Xinjiang is happy, and you tend to see not only the same places, but the same faces all the time, like this old man that they all use as a prop in all of their videos. You start to see how despicable it all is. Not only is what the government doing despicable, but the influencers themselves who take part in this genocide denial propaganda, they are even more despicable because they know what's going on. And if they're too dumb or too thick to see what's going on around them, then they have no place trying to tell anyone else about what's going on around them. Here we have someone else, and what was this poor guy's crime?
He was teaching people in a mosque.
Okay.
About a lecture.
Yeah.
Just detained. Keep going.
Yeah, we will keep going and see what comes up.
We just picked some random people off of the list.
Again, here's another one of the compromised influencers. Now remember, according to people like him, I'll just play his little clip quickly so we can see. Here it comes.
All the West are hoping to do is to destabilise the area of Xinjiang to stop the rise of China.
So, according to him and many of these other influencers, the whole reason why people are saying there's a genocide going on in Xinjiang or there's anything wrong is because they just want to destabilize Xinjiang and they want to stop the rise of China.
Or the military-industrial complex wants to have another war. By the way, there's no war. There's no Western power trying to have a war in Xinjiang.
No.
So
anyway, I mean, like that's just their thinking, and this is what the Chinese government is paying these guys, or incentivizing these guys to do. Right. Anyway, let's see what this guy.
This guy was just detained, a preliminary sentence for listening to lectures, illegal lectures, illegally listening to stuff, broadcasts.
Okay, you have to put this into context. It's kind of like, I know the government doesn't like these weird fringe things you have in America, like, I don't know, Alex Jones.
Sure.
Right? I'm pretty sure the government doesn't like that because it's all conspiracies about like how the government's bad or all these weird... So imagine you want to listen to Alex Jones because that's your choice.
And we're not talking about being banned off of a private company's platform.
No, we're talking about
you personally listen to it.
So you go on his website or whatever and you listen to his podcast about frogs being gay or whatever it is.
The flavor of the week.
Yeah. And you get arrested. You get arrested for that. And you get
years.
Yeah. You get put in jail because you listen to...
Just listen to it. You didn't participate.
Now let's take that and take it even less. Okay. Yeah. Now you listen to an audio version of the Bible.
Yes.
And now you get taken away.
There you go.
Because
this is more accurate.
Because this is what's happening is these guys are listening to...
commentary.
Their
lectures.
Yeah, their lectures, like religious lectures, their Islam lectures. Listen to that and you get taken to jail.
You can imagine, it's almost like, I think the best analogy would be to listen to, like, for example, if you're a Catholic, Catholic Answers, like analysis of your religion, right?
What is the answer to the Catholic question?
Yeah.
I'm curious. Catholic Answers?
Catholic Answers is just
what would one of them be?
It's like how to talk to people that don't believe in communion.
Oh, okay.
Right? It's that kind of stuff. It's like answering stuff that Catholics believe in. Right?
Okay.
What is the church's teaching on stuff? That's what this is the equivalent is.
Yeah.
It'd be like listening to a guy in the UK, right, at a famous university, and he teaches Islam.
Yeah.
Right? You're listening to his lecture or whatever these people, the flavor of the week is that they're listening to, explaining their own religion. right? Then somebody rats them out, or through the state security apparatus finds out on their phone.
Yeah, because they can monitor phones. They've got
real time.
They've got cameras everywhere.
Real time, yeah. So they know what message, who sent it, why, when, where, how, right? And they know that this poor guy listened to that lecture. Now he's going to jail.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I mean, imagine that happens to you. Maybe you're just on your phone and your friend's like, hey, check this out, and you like open it up and it's like, oh, this is interesting. Dong, dong, knocks on the door. You're going to jail.
That sounds like a fantasy or like a movie, but that's how it works.
It is. It's in Xinjiang. It's terrible. Anyway, let's move on. What do we have next?
It's totally normal here. People are nice, doing their job, living their life, very welcoming.
Yeah, it's very normal there because you get to fly down there because of your connections to the Chinese state media and your fancy billionaire father, that guy in particular. And you get to go on a little trip to a farm, and all of a sudden, you get to say what's going on in Xinjiang.
By the way, while state media is there.
Yes. Yeah. So you get to say everything's happy and everything's great here. And you've been there for like 15 minutes. These guys really make me angry because they really are taking the piss.
Right.
It's just like, I can't suddenly go somewhere in a different country, even here in America. I can't just fly to a city I've never been to and walk around for 5 minutes and say like, everyone's happy, everything's great.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean,
there's no issues.
Yeah, it's totally fine.
That's what this is. And you can see how patronizing that is. If anyone did that, they imagine a YouTuber gets on an airplane, goes to Juneau, Alaska, right? They've never been there before.
Yeah.
Gets off the plane for 5 minutes, takes out a vlog camera, goes, everyone is so happy here. Life is perfect.
Yeah.
Because that's what's happening here. But for some reason, nobody bats an eyelid when they do that in Xinjiang because that's just those Uyghur people over there. Right?
I mean, we all know, luckily in the States, because of the open press and, well, when you say open, and there's tons of bias and weird stuff going on too, of course. But I know that downtown Detroit is not a great place.
Correct.
Okay? Because I've heard about it.
Right.
I've seen it in the news. I've seen it in countless movies.
You can go on Google Street View.
Yeah.
It's documented.
Everybody knows downtown Detroit's not great. But imagine downtown Detroit isn't great, but the government doesn't want anyone to know that.
Sure.
So people try to leak out stories about how crappy downtown
arrested,
Detroit is. They get silenced, they get put in jail, whatever the case. And then to try and prove it, they send someone like me with a camera in there. And I go in there and I'm like, look, downtown Detroit's great. Like, everyone's so friendly. Yeah, I get sent specifically to the one area of Detroit that isn't bad, and it's great. And I walk around, I'm like, it's actually really nice here, guys. Everyone's happy,
awesome. There's nothing wrong with this.
And meanwhile, behind the scenes, anyone tries to do anything, they're shut up immediately.
Yeah, you have like cops around you that are pushing everyone.
That's the best analogy I can come up with.
Yeah.
And so I say it's great because I don't see anything bad. The government says it's great because they don't want anyone to know that it's bad. And so that's all we get.
Right.
And the poor people that are escaping and trying to tell you how terrible it is, everyone calls them, opportunists or conspiracy theorists or liars or whatever the case.
Or paid government, whatever.
That's what they do to the Uyghur dissidents who escape. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
They have to go through so much sacrifice. Their families get punished.
They have to completely divorce themselves from their families in order to speak out.
And they have to live with that on their conscience, that them speaking out has probably caused either the death or the incarceration or some terrible things to happen to their family.
Yeah.
And that's how much they're willing to speak out.
How expensive their voice is.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. So what happened to this young lady?
Who knows? She was sent to re-education, though.
Because of reason 913. We've seen this pop up. We want to figure this out. We've seen it 913 or 9.13. We're not sure what that is.
We're not sure what that is.
Could be a date.
Could be a date. Could be a thing.
Could be a penal code.
There were some things in the Chinese section that were saying it was the phone shut-off time.
Yeah.
Which I'm going to just assume, and again, it could be wrong, but it's the time. Oftentimes, the Chinese government will cut off cell phone service in Xinjiang when they need everything to be on lockdown. I'm not talking about COVID. I'm talking about we think there's going to be terrorist activity. We don't want anyone spreading information about something, and they will literally turn off the internet.
Yeah.
Completely.
Correct.
I think it might have something to do with circumventing that.
Yeah, maybe. Anyway, she was sent to re-education.
Yeah.
In an industrial park, because that's where you re-educate people.
Oh, there's no forced labor, right?
No.
Everyone is happy and at peace.
Yes. What you're seeing here. Okay, now, I wanted to show this. It's a brief clip. I just wanted to show you. We've been talking about this genocide theme park, right? Mm-hmm. Now, don't worry. This isn't the whole thing, but I just wanted to show a clip to show you guys the 3 hot spots that you will see turning up again and again in all of these foreign propagandists.
Which are
videos.
nowhere near a camp.
Yeah, far away, far away. So let's take a quick look at that. There are all different clips from many different YouTube channels. I've just spliced them all together. These are paid influencers by the Chinese government propaganda arm, all going to Xinjiang at exactly the same time. In fact, many of them can be seen in each other's footage because they were all there, being bussed around by the government and taken to these specific places in order to deflect away from what's actually happening in Xinjiang. So, Xinjiang has become a theme park now for narcissistic influencers working as propagandists for the Communist Party of China. And there are 3 main attractions. Number 1, the Urumqi Grand Bazaar. This is the first stop on our genocide denial tour. Here, our propagandists are allowed to roam freely. The bazaar is actually closed off with checkpoints going in and out, so they can freely roam, look at all the tourist tat, sit down in the big food courts, take photos next to the many statues and interesting architecture in and around the bazaar. Here we get to see people ambling around, having a great time, and don't forget, you can get your KFC burger and a Starbucks coffee while you're at it. Number 2, Kashgar Ancient City. Not only do you get to dance like a clown outside the main gates with some paid Uyghurs, but you also get to walk down the same alleyways that every other influencer has walked down. On top of that, you get to invade a traditional Uyghurs home and see exactly how they live in a very model and set up house. Next, head out to the big square where you get to see Xinjiang's oldest mosque that has been completely stripped of all of its religious symbology and turned into somewhat of a museum, there for your entertainment and the entertainment of the Han majority tourists who come to visit. Don't forget the pony shows, camel rides for the kids, and trained doves that circle the square on command over and over. Number 3, the Hoten Night Market. Here, after a hard day's work of genocide denial, we get to go and enjoy ourselves, relax, choose one of the many different dishes from the numerous food stalls, watch a live performance, and of course, appear on state TV to say just how great and free and wonderful Xinjiang is. Let's get real here for a minute, guys. What these incredibly immoral influencers and Chinese fluff piece propagandists are doing is covering for the atrocities that the Chinese government is carrying out in Xinjiang. Families are being torn apart. Fathers, sons, and husbands being disappeared into concentration camps. Children being put in state orphanages and taken away from family. Forced abortion, sterilization, mass rape, arbitrary detention, complete destruction of the traditions, religions, and beliefs of an ethnic minority. There's a lot of bad things going on here, and these stupid, immoral fools are there dancing around with Uyghurs in traditional clothing, pretending everything is okay, and trying to whitewash what's actually going on in Xinjiang. Yeah, so, guys, I just had to put that out there. So now you can recognize some of these places that you've been seeing a lot.
Yeah.
And you will see, there's a little bit of the guys in the background here, but you'll see they all go to those same spots because those are the safe places to film. Those are the places far away from the camps. Those are the places where the majority of people walking around are Han people.
Correct, yeah.
And the only Uyghurs you will find there are the people doing the performances or in the stalls selling you Uyghur ice cream or food or whatever the case may be. They're
approved for a set.
Yeah, it's disgusting, immoral nonsense that's been going on there.
Correct.
So now we're going to have to move back onto the whole leaked documents, because we've been showing you some of the mugshots that were leaked with some of the, people and what they've been incarcerated for, which I'm sure by now you can realize is very arbitrary.
Yeah.
Like they could really just lock you up for anything, right?
They could.
Yeah.
So let's go into these leaked documents. There is a website, and I want you guys to check these websites out after we're done with the show here. But basically, more than 5,000 police photographs and other documents were leaked, or should I say hacked. They were hacked, right? In these police database before they had proper encryption set up, right? So
and these were only taken between January and July of 2018.
Yeah, so just one little area of a huge province in only a few months. Yeah. Right. So this is but it's great. It's great information.
Yes.
It's great information. It's a smattering of information that shows a grand scale of what's going on.
Yeah, it's a tiny bit, like we said, it's the tip of the iceberg.
Yes.
So, I mean, a couple of months worth of photos and these mugshots and stuff. Anyway, let's carry on.
So not only were 2,884, documented cases, so basically with a mugshot and then what they were there for, how old they were and where they were, right, are leaked. But not only that, but the actual documents showing how and why they do these things.
Yes.
What the methodology of the Chinese government is in the area and their purposes and goals of doing such a thing, right? Yeah. And all of this stuff is in the websites in the description. And it's put together. It's very easy to follow, right? Now, the problem is that some of these documents actually show that it goes completely against Chinese government doctrine, where they're saying that, we're just worried about these people not being able to integrate because they don't have proper jobs and they're basically undereducated, right? The reason I say that is because they say, the Chinese government claims that these re-education camps, by the way, a lot of these are incarceration, not just re-education.
No, of course. They get stuck in there and do hard labor and stuff.
What you'll find out from these documents is that these re-education camps anyway are detention. They are guarded with armed guards. They are barbed wire, armed, guarded, areas where people are being forced to do labor, right?
Yeah.
Number two, you'll also find out that how can Uyghur people go to these vocational camps on their own volition if there are, and let me just read this real quick here.
Okay.
If there are orders to shoot on command, right? So basically, when there is a inkling of somebody that wants to escape, right? There is a leaked document here, the hacked document here that highlights what actually happens there. Okay, I'm gonna read through that real quick.
Yeah, we've got it up in the background for those of you who can read small text.
Yes, for those of you that can read small text. Mm-hmm. So in this document, it goes through the checklist on the incident response plan in case there are escapees during outdoor activities. So keep in mind, I thought this was...
By the way, it says workflow.
Workflow.
So when they're working outside.
They're working outside.
Like picking cotton.
Yes.
Or whatever.
So why, if this is just a vocational workshop where they're teaching them life skills so they can go integrate in Han-Chinese society, why is there an incident response plan in case of escapee? Don't they just go home at night?
Nope.
Don't they just go home after work? No, that's not true, because number one, in this, by the way, very, very optional thing that people can choose, security guards at the site of the incident immediately notify the person responsible for the center's security and center's shift leader, right? The security guards at the site and incident activate the alarm to seek control, to control the trainees who cross the security perimeters. By the way, they call the victims trainees.
Yeah.
Without permission through spoken commands. If the trainees fail to comply, the armed police officers can fire warning shots. If trainees refuse to stop and continue to escape, the armed police officers shoot them dead.
Yeah.
This is an official document.
Yes.
By the way, this is the English translation. The Chinese one is up there as well.
Yeah.
An official document of what to do when these volunteer workers in these volunteer, not concentration camp workshops manage to escape.
Yes.
You shoot them dead.
You do.
Right. They're not armed, by the way.
Of course not.
just
the only thing they're armed with is like, I don't know, their faith.
Correct. Then they go on to talk about how the strike group of 18 people, and then the next one is 11 people, and then the next one is 19 people, will arrive to seal off all the perimeters.
Yeah.
We're talking about a high-level security detail that is sent to stop volunteer workers from escaping forced labor.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And these people in these camps, by the way, these re-education camps, some are children, right?
Yeah.
Let's pull some of these people up.
Yeah, we'll take a look.
They're children.
Well, I mean, there you have it. The order of shoot to kill.
Yeah.
So whatever you want to say about these camps, this is the whole point. It changes the game.
Correct.
Because if you want to say it's just vocational camps, that's bullshit. If it's a vocational camp where you're learning a language and you try to leave and you get shot, that's not a vocational camp.
The appropriate department is to isolate and examine the escaping trainees and detainees. So then they basically get all of them rounded up.
Yeah.
Then they interrogate them, by the way, and then afterwards they have corrective measures and punish those responsible for the escape.
Yeah.
So let's just keep.
What
going
about
on.
this?
This is the security plan for the transfers of the basically forced labor.
Transfer trainees of the Industrial City Education and Training Center. Is this where they talk about the putting on hoods and handcuffs and stuff?
Yeah, I'll read through some of that.
Yeah, it's kind of important because this is for the re-education stuff. It's not like when you're in prison stuff.
So this is where when they want to move some people from a forced labor camp type area to another training center. And again, in massive air quotes here.
Yes.
Training center, right? So remember all those people that said re-education. Keep this in mind, right?
Yes.
This is not a freaking after-school club.
Sure.
Right? So this is the security plan, right?
Yeah.
So that says transfer time. It says the task should be completed on the afternoon of June 8th, right? A total of 430 trainees will be transferred. So this is them outlining who's going to be transferred.
Yeah.
Again, they call them trainees. 300 male trainees and 130 female trainees, right? It is estimated that the transfer will require 2 trips. So this is detailing a very specific area and getting people from one place to another.
Right.
The route arrangement, the lead vehicle and detainee transfer vehicles will enter from gate number 1 in front of the buildings number 1, 5, and 6. After all trainees are onboarded, all the vehicles will follow the 314 National Highway, so it's a Guodao.
Yes.
National Highway is basically these older
Yeah,
roads.
it's not the big highway. I guess they don't want attention drawn to them, yeah.
Towards the Shufu County and Party School, so the Communist Party of China, personnel and corresponding lists are to be handed over to the party school after the vehicle's return. This task has been completed, right?
Yeah.
Now, the important thing is that what we have to pay attention to, let me pull up the second part of this,
right,
is the details that go into this, okay? It says, prepare for, remember there's 430 people being transferred, right?
Sure.
To these volunteer work camps. Prepare 430 sets of handcuffs, shackles, and hoods in advance.
Right.
All the trainees who need to be transferred must wear all 3. Must implement the 3 wears. So that's the communist jargon.
They always say that the 4 olds or there's always something that there's. So the 3 wears must implement the 3 wears.
Right. At least, listen to this, at least 2 security guards or 1 cadre and 1 security guard are responsible for escorting each trainee.
Yeah.
Right. When escorting the trainees from building to lower levels, the transport vehicles must be parked in front of buildings number 1, 5, and 6 to make sure the trainees immediately board the vehicles after going downstairs, right? And it goes on to talk about the Public Security Bureau. But then there's some requirements, right? It says, attach great importance and unify everyone's thinking. All security and staff participating in this transfer must follow orders, obey commands, and everyone must be uniformed and carry police equipment according to regulations. Be on high alert and take precautions. All transferring trainees must be handcuffed behind their backs and wear hoods and shackles to prevent trainees from escaping, harming themselves, or harming others. Do a good job in coordinating and making the overall arrangements. Coordinate the buildings number 3, 4, and 7 to dispatch a total of 30 security forces to assist in the mission, and dispatch 2 strike groups to be responsible for on-site security work.
Yeah.
For matters not covered, follow the provisional notices and arrangements. And that is an official document, by the way.
And remember, this is just for a very small area of Xinjiang, a very small area, very small sample, and from 2018.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, a tiny area.
Yeah.
Right.
This has been going on for years and years and years.
Yes.
And it encompasses the entire province.
Right.
You can just imagine, when they say there's 1 million Uyghurs in it's true, okay? It's more than that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, okay, so that is, again, tip of the iceberg. I want you guys in your own time to go into these websites and actually look. The documents are all lined up and they have English translations as well.
And they've been independently verified.
Yes, and that's why they're released now.
Yeah.
Right? We've gone through them. There's some sick stuff in there.
Yeah.
But again, let's move on. Let's just look at some of the people.
Yeah, we'll take a look at some of the people. And then I'm sure you've noticed
Have a look at this.
Yeah.
This is, the 2,800 images that I was talking about, 2,884 images. This is just a smattering of them, right?
Yeah.
And it's a composite image that the BBC put together from this leaked document website. Yeah. So again, there's the youngest girl was 14 at the time of her detention, and the oldest woman here, she was 73.
I just got to ask you, what threat is she?
Well, there's none. It's guilt by association, most likely.
Yeah, and it's probably one of those things like, we're locking your grandma up now just to punish you.
Right.
You know?
Correct.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. By the way, for those of you watching live now, we will have a big Q&A after this. It's not like our normal show. It's just basically we're doing this segment and then we'll hit a big Q&A.
Yeah, so look at this real quick. Pause this real quick.
Yeah.
This is a family that was all detained and separated, by the way. So there's an issue here. There were 2 parents that were detained here. Right?
Okay.
2 of these are the parents, right? And what happened is that when they hacked the police database, the really chilling and horrid thing that happened was they didn't just find that there's 2 perceived criminals or alleged criminals, right?
Yeah.
These parents.
Yeah.
They also, in the police file, found all of the entire family in here, including the shaved heads of their daughters.
Yeah,
right?
the young daughters, yeah.
This was in the official police file. This was not like their family photos.
No.
This was in the arrest record. And it turns out, most likely from experts, that these children were put into some sort of camp themselves.
Well, that's something that we've heard a lot from the people who've escaped. They've, you saw earlier the footage that I was showing with the shills when they're eating and having a good time while you see the Uyghur people crying, showing pictures of children and stuff, is because the children have been forcibly removed from the families and put into foster homes and put into these other weird camps where they also, we've shown it before on our podcast, where they have to, prove that they're Chinese by saying that they love the CCP and stuff like that while their parents languish in a camp somewhere.
And they jam them into this like prison-like dorm, basically, while they recite CCP
Yeah, it's like foster homes.
Yeah.
Well, not foster homes, like
with a sick political edge.
Yeah. It's, what do you call this? It's no orphanage. So.
Orphanage,
yeah. It's like state orphanages, not foster homes. That'd be nice, I suppose.
Yeah.
But no, orphanages. In comparison, yeah. And this is not like a dysfunctional family that the children need to go into an orphanage. No, they've been separated from their parents and put in orphanages by force. And they've got all these relatives that have managed to escape, or relatives wherever, like you saw the crying relative showing photos.
Yeah.
They're not allowed to have the children. They're not allowed to have access to the children. These children now belong to the Chinese state to be brainwashed and used however they see fit, which is awful.
It's sick. Absolutely disgusting.
Yeah. And remember, these shills walking around, oh, there's no oppression here. Look at this. It's great. Everyone's having a good time. You are complicit in this. You are. You knew better. And you should have known better than to go to Xinjiang at the height of all these rumors to go do a stupid paid propaganda tour. How do you even sleep at night? This is like, this is terrible. This is terrible. I don't know how you have any morals or any conscience. Like anyone with this basic morals and conscience would not get wrapped up in something like this at all, not even taking the chance.
No, absolutely not.
Anyway.
These are some of the younger victims. I just wanted to focus on this because most of these kids in this image here are underage. They're not being to be tried as adults, but some of them were detained and some of them were re-educated. And as we can see from the documents, I don't know if there's a whole lot of difference, to be honest.
Yeah.
Right. If the CCP decides that you're a threat to the state, it doesn't matter how old you are, to be honest.
No.
It doesn't actually matter.
And like I said, it's probably a lot of guilt by association.
There is.
Your father's had some extremist stuff on his phone, so now we're going to just take you as well.
When you guys see, like, these are great examples. You see these mugshots, and they have, like, all the details about them. There's 2,800 examples. In your spare time, you can go look at some of these. You'll see a common thread.
Yeah.
You will see a lot of these are guilt by association.
Sure.
Right. And this guy was, this is what they call religious extremism, by the way.
Yeah.
This is what the Chinese government defines as religious extremism, is no smoking and no drinking. Listening to multimedia cards, which is most likely...
What is a multimedia card?
It's most likely like an SD card with multimedia on it.
Yeah. Right. So in other words, just listening to audio.
By the way, these translations are horrible. A lot of them are code words. Like, for example, it's not Taiwanese. It says Tai Bi Li Ke, which is like some sort of name.
Definitely like Uyghur language or something, or Arabic or something.
Right. So these are going to have to be... These are obviously rushed through machine translation. People are experts in the area, and we hope a lot of Uyghurs will help us out with this to figure out what some of these code words are. But more importantly, he's
17 years in jail for
listening,
for not smoking and drinking,
and listening to these things about how that stuff is bad. Right?
Yeah.
What if he's listening to like a health book? You know what I mean? Anyway.
I mean, just think about that for a minute. You get put into 17 years just because of your religious beliefs.
Yes.
Okay.
That's extremism. And keep in mind, guys, and a lot of people are like, how is no smoking and drinking extremism? I'm seeing this in the chat.
Yeah.
A torture method that the Chinese government uses in some of these camps, particularly for males, right? What they'll do is they'll get they'll find out who the most religious people are, and they'll force them to get drunk, smoke cigarettes, and eat pork.
Yeah.
And they'll do this as a sport and also to break them down.
Look, I heard about this way before, and I'm talking...
Oh, yeah, this is super old.
I'm talking probably 2012 is when I started to hear about how they would forcefully shave beards and force them to eat pork and drink and stuff. And the reason behind this is they're trying to erase Muslim extremism, as they say, but by doing that, they want to just erase the Muslim identity.
Yes, correct.
And so they're like, well, you know what? Big part of the Muslim identity is not drinking and not eating pork.
They find those points.
So we're going to force them to do it so we can push this religion out of here.
Right.
Because we want them to be just like everyone else in China, running after money and nothing else. You know, that's got to be what they do. We don't want this faith.
Cookie cutter.
Yeah, we don't want this.
Boxes.
You know, and they don't understand faith because they don't have it. You're not allowed to.
It's also not faith alone. I think a lot of people focus way too much on this. It's erasing an entire culture and people group, right? It's because they look different.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are too focused on the Muslim thing is easy for them because it's within law to persecute. So the Chinese government say, oh, a Muslim didn't want to eat pork. That's illegal. That's extremism. That's how you get someone.
Yeah.
The actual overarching message here is if you don't look Chinese, they want you to die. They want you to be erased or integrated properly.
Yeah, you have to be integrated. And that it is incredibly, there's a lot of discrimination and racism in China, unfortunately. And foreigners ourselves living in China for so long, we've experienced it firsthand. In a positive way, the discrimination a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Oh, you're a foreigner, so you get special treatment.
Right.
That's still discrimination.
Right.
In a negative way as well in many aspects. Like if there was ever a legal dispute or something, then you can bet your bottom dollar that the local Chinese person will win out over the foreigner. Just because, oh, you're a foreigner.
For
Like
sure.
if you're going to get into a legal battle,
Right. It's
that's
ethnicity.
it.
It's an ethno-state.
It is
China's
an ethno-state. And we see terrible racism within the Chinese society, and we've experienced it so many times with our black friends. And
It's
you know,
not, Black Friends is a good example.
Yeah.
But to bring it back to the Uyghurs, the dehumanization of Uyghurs has been a systemic thing for a long time
since
in China.
The first, I just made a video about the first girl I ever met in China. I just released it a couple of days ago. She told me, and this is like my first week within China, and we're walking around, and there was a little Uyghur boy trying to sell the cake or whatever. And she said, like, stay away from Xinjiang people. They're all criminals. They're all dirty.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the hell? There's
stab you.
There's like a little kid with his little white hat there, you know, and I'm thinking like, well, okay. And she told me immediately. So from literally the first week I got to China, I would hear people being derogatory about Uyghurs.
Yeah. I've heard things like they should all be thrown in jail. We should get rid of them.
Yeah.
All they can do is sell meat on the side of the road, like the, chuar, chuar. They make fun of them, their dances and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, it's been a long process.
Sure.
A long process.
Like dehumanizing them. And it's discrimination on ethnicity.
Yeah.
It's racism, in other words. It's actual racism. Like, you want to know what real racism is? That's what you're looking at.
It's murdering an entire people group, basically. Wiping them out.
Yeah, I wouldn't say murdering.
Wiping them out.
Yeah. And that's...
but there are cases of actual
Of course. And I want to draw a line here. You know, when we talk genocide, at least when that word's thrown around, we're talking about a cultural genocide. Putting an end to a certain type of people, a certain way of life. That's why the sterilization's coming in, the forced sterilization, the forced abortions and all that kind of nonsense, is they don't want the Uyghur population to explode. You know, there's so many tanky talking points about, we've seen like a big increase in their, this and that. It's all nonsense. If you look at it proper and you actually go into the numbers and you see what's going on, it's very obvious what's going on here. But it is, once again, the Chinese government trying to wipe out an entire cultural identity, a culture. It's cultural genocide.
A culture and a race.
So
race of people.
You get rid of your religion. You get rid of your traditions.
Yeah.
You get rid of your language. Mm-hmm. You get rid of your faith. Like everything about you except for the parts that they like. Like, here, wear this fancy, get up and dance in a circle, and we're going to say that's good. And you're going to play your instrument. That's okay.
If we say it's okay.
Yeah, if it's okay. That for our entertainment.
Yeah.
And for the entertainment of foreign shills, that's totally okay. But like you, as what you do in your life, that's not okay. We're not going to accept that anymore. Get out of here. We don't want you. We want you to be the same as everyone else in China. And you can, if you want to, you can wear your funny clothes every once in a while, but you have to conform and you have to be what we want you to be. And that's what's going on.
A good point in this mugshot here is you can see the other prisoners in the background kneeling down.
Yeah, you can actually see, if you look, you can see the jail bars, by the way. Like we said, they just take any random wall to take these mugshots. They're not very well organized. It's something you'll find in China in any case. It's kind of Chabador with a lot of things. But you can see the other detainees there in their orange, vests, and they have to kneel down and, squat down there against the wall. Mm. So you can see there are others there. Anyway, let's move on to another person here. This poor guy, 17 years.
That's extreme, isn't it?
Yeah, for not smoking and drinking. This is, this is connected to that other little boy we showed earlier. He's one of the little boys who was smashing windows, being a naughty little one-eyed boy. He was 16 in 2018. So he was 14 when he was arrested for the smashing thing. And he was part of this guilt by association thing where they took the whole family down. Now, here's a very important one that we have to pay attention to here. This young girl here, 15-year sentence, 15-year.
Yes. 15 years in jail. Because she was using a niche instant messaging tool. Do you know what that means? It means anything other than WeChat. So WhatsApp is banned
Telegram
in China.
or something.
Telegram is banned in China. Anything you use is banned in China except for WeChat.
Yeah.
And whatever's built into your phone, right?
Sure.
So she used something like that, obviously to communicate with other people because she doesn't want to be monitored.
Yeah.
Right? Or people from other countries, right? And VPN circumvention software, and that's the key element here.
Yeah.
We've heard a lot of apologists talk about, it's actually a Chinese propaganda talking point.
Freaking Eileen Gu went out there and said,
that's a great example.
Just download a VPN. It's free in the App Store.
Eileen Gu, the American Olympian that
skied for
China, she said that anyone can use a VPN. She parroted a CCP talking point. Why not just download a VPN? Who cares if the government blocks the internet? You can just use a VPN, you dummy, right? No, you can't. You go to jail for 15 years for second-degree terrorism.
Yes.
If you're a Uyghur. And apparently to Eileen Gu, that is not a human being. This girl is not a human being.
Sure.
She deserves it, right? Yeah. And I'm not trying to put words in people's mouths, but that's that sentiment, right? You hear a lot of, not just Eileen Gu, but CCP sympathizers, what they'll say
the tankies, everyone. They're like, well, just get a VPN.
Just get a VPN, you idiot. Why can't you just get a VPN if you're so worried about getting on YouTube or talking to your family?
It's regional, you see? So, by the way, using a VPN has gotten Chinese people in trouble in the past, detained, put in jail all over the country. But you don't hear about it that much.
No.
That's why you'll get these foreigners who live in Shenzhen or Shanghai or Beijing or any of these bigger areas. They use a VPN freely and they don't see any repercussions. And so in their mind, it's totally okay.
Correct.
All right.
But this girl goes to jail for
if you use a VPN and you're in Xinjiang, then they really throw the book at you. The laws are kind of the same all over the country. You can go to jail for using VPN. Well, no, it's not. Like, it is more extreme for Xinjiang people, of course. More. But the thing is, you go to jail. It's not legal to use a VPN in China. Anyone who's trying to tell you that it's okay and it's legal...
It's illegal.
It's bullshit.
It's illegal in Chinese law to use a VPN.
It's literally like if I drove an unregistered vehicle on the roads here in America for like a year, I was just lucky enough that nobody pulled me over. Cops didn't pull me over.
Well said.
And then I just tell everyone around the world, it's totally legal.
You totally can.
To drive an unregistered car on the roads here.
I did it myself.
Yeah, I've done it for years now, and I haven't been pulled over, so it's legal. See, that's the logic you're looking at here. No one in the government has ever gone to these people and told them, you know what, you can use a VPN.
No, absolutely.
They've just been using it with impunity and not hit a snag yet, you know?
Yes.
But this is, again, proof, and this is not the only proof. There are documents of not only Uyghurs, but Han Chinese people also getting into trouble if they left a tweet or something. Because they leave a tweet that the Chinese government doesn't like and it gets traction, or they put a video out there on YouTube or something, they'll get the book thrown at them. And then this whole, like, it's illegal to use a VPN law comes into play. Only when they've done something.
You're right.
But you're a Uyghur, you get caught using a VPN or something like Telegram, some kind of encrypted messaging app, and you're screwed, you know?
Correct.
Look at that, 15 years.
She got 15 years in jail for this.
Yeah. 15 years. That's great.
We're also pretending like this is a hard and fast thing, like the legal system in China means anything.
Yeah.
Like it's not like, well, your 15 years is up.
Yeah.
It's not like some mandated thing. It's they can do whatever they want to you.
Yeah. It's an awful situation. Yeah. Anyway, just had to point that out. This whole VPN thing, it really pisses me off. We already spoke about this one. Let's move on to another one. Yeah. What did she do?
We don't know. She's at Kashgar Vocational School. That's her reason. We're waiting for people to confirm some of these reasons.
Yeah. How about this dude?
Again, it says Shenyang Daxue, which means Shenyang. Oh, it says in English, Shenyang University.
Yeah.
Right. And that just, I mean, maybe he was a student there, a Uyghur student there. Maybe this goes further than just in Xinjiang, right?
Who knows?
Who knows?
We talked about this.
Yeah, this
this
guy
dude.
was very pious.
He had a beard. That's a big
Don't
no-no.
have a beard. Don't do it.
What about her?
Just says university student.
Yeah. This guy.
Legal departure guy.
Yep.
Did him. We just threw some of these in here to round some of these out.
Yeah, we just wanted to cover a couple of bases. Remember, there's like 3,000 of these, so we just put a couple. What did this dude do?
It says...
for 10 years. What did he get put in jail for 10 years?
He learned the rules and worship of scriptures from Yusi and Aishan, deceased, for about a month in 1994.
Okay.
Then he was under the influence of a man with a beard. He learned that a man with a beard accumulates virtue, and a man with a beard, sunnai, whatever that means. He grew a beard for about 3 months. So they literally documented what months and when he grew a beard.
Yeah, from May to August 2006. The suspect, blah, learned the rules of worship and scriptures from that guy deceased for about a month. It's just repeated.
Yeah.
Well,
so they'll document when and how long you grew a beard for.
So you go to jail for 10 years
Yes.
for that.
Yes.
Seems a little extreme.
Yeah.
You know, the extremists are here is actually the Chinese government with
No
their
shit.
freaking
Yeah.
sentencing.
Yeah.
They're their extremists.
That's the extremist.
Seriously. It's freaking awful. Okay, we took a look at this this programmer. It's been
Re-educated.
Yeah. This dude we already spoke about. He's the guy who, you know, dared
dared
to
smash
smash
the
the
vacant
windows
house
of the
of-
supremacists.
Yeah.
You know, this guy's everything's unknown.
Yeah.
This old woman, unknown.
60, unknown.
Yeah.
Again, we just want to see how they have the
Yeah,
Han
you
woman
can see
there.
the Han woman who's there to. They show this woman, and I presume other women as well, appear with the elderly women together.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. Always with gloves on.
Yeah, with latex gloves.
Yeah. How about this guy over here?
He was detained when he studied scriptures illegally under the guidance of Qasim Mushar. They basically throw in these names of people that were previously detained.
Right.
And if you studied anything from them or were around them, then you go to jail.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. He studied the scriptures illegally under the guidance of that guy.
Right.
1998.
So look how far this goes back, by the way.
Illegal
We're not talking
study
about
of
a new
scriptures.
thing. Right.
Yeah. From 4 groups in 13 villages. Okay. And then the guy was taken into custody. So I guess what happens here is they capture the imam, because it looks like it was an imam, right?
Yeah.
Capture an imam, and they kind of just interrogate them. Who studied under you?
Yeah.
You know, and when? And then they're like, you studied under this guy in 1998, so you get to go to this, you know.
This guy's like, what the hell?
Yeah, he's like, dude, you know, I've
studied-
changed since then.
or whatever. It doesn't even have to be raw.
No, sure.
Right.
It's like, wait, that happened a long time ago, you know? I
It
was a
shows
kid.
you what the surveillance apparatus in China goes far, dude. Far.
Yeah. Yeah, it's terrible.
Especially in Xinjiang.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the worst part.
Yeah.
Xinjiang, when it comes to surveillance. Who do we have next? Okay,
69
69-year-old and
It's
unknown why.
yeah.
Everything's
He's
unknown.
interned. But look, we
We've got the woman again with her identification badge, mask, presumably gloves.
Yeah.
This is before COVID, by the way.
Yeah, we're trying to figure out what her job is specifically and why she keeps appearing in photos.
I think she's wearing gloves. Probably she does a search of their hair and everything. That's
Yeah.
my guess. You know, probably pats them down and does a
Sure.
body
I just don't know
search.
why she's in the photos.
She's standing there to make sure they don't run. I don't know.
suppose, yeah. Could be.
It's kind of hard to say. This dude.
Two-faced man, category 5. We just didn't. It literally says Liang
Yeah.
Yan Ren, which
So-
means two-faced man. We
He's
want to
a
know
two-
we want to know what that means.
Yeah, maybe he like says one thing like, "No, I don't pray," and then he like runs off and actually
I
prays. But it's category 5, so he must really.
I didn't have lamb rice for dinner yesterday. I had lamb rice for dinner yesterday.
I mean, yeah, you got to make fun of some of this stuff because it's ridiculous. Seriously.
Well, not make fun of the
Two-faced.
man.
No, two-faced
That's
man.
his charge. It literally says two-faced man.
Yeah, in Chinese is Liang Yan Ren.
It literally
Liang
does.
Yan Ren. Yeah.
Anyway.
Anyway, that's poor guy. He's a two-faced man. How about this dude?
And again, here's some of the code words. We're trying to decipher these. It says, looking back at the 1215 case. Again, this is probably some internal code for an incident that happened.
Yeah, right? Because they do have like terrorist incidents. There have been like bombings and mass stabbings and stuff. So maybe some of this they're related to a certain date where there was an actual attack.
We're just trying to decipher it.
Have to play fair here. Remember, we have to play fair from the point of view that the motivation initially behind this was to put an end to separatist activities in Xinjiang.
Right.
Okay? And that was the guise under which they did this, but they just went overboard.
Not just overboard, it began reshaped.
Yeah, rather than targeting extremist cells and going after actual terrorists, they just decided to go after the entire
group. 1 million people.
The whole entire cultural group.
10% of the population thrown into camps.
Exactly. It's terrible. It's kind of like, oh, wow, a mosquito bit me. Let's rid the world of mosquitoes.
Correct.
All of them.
Right.
It's that kind of mentality.
Right.
It's just like
that's what the Chinese government
throwing
thinks.
the baby out with the bathwater.
Well, I mean, and again, they'll do it with impunity, and they don't care because they don't see them as human. They've already systematically dehumanized Uyghur people for how many years now?
I mean, since I got there.
Yeah, they don't care.
Before that,
it's just those criminals.
Yeah, for sure. It's awful. All right, who do we have next here? This dude, okay.
So this guy, I threw this in here. I thought it was kind of interesting. This guy was a CCP official, right? So in deputy secretary of a party branch. So basically every village will have a CCP official.
Yeah.
Even though you'll have a mayor and a governor and all this kind of stuff, the CCP official presides over all of that.
Correct.
And this guy was in charge of family planning, which means that he goes around and makes sure that people don't have too many kids, right? Yeah. Now, he himself, because he's a CCP official, obviously has to adhere to those principles.
Yeah.
And he got detained, so he's arrested, right? Because he was responsible for family planning, right? So he's a CCP official, it says, can't have more than 2 kids, right?
Right.
But he himself had 2 kids. So he was detained as a religious extremist now, right?
Yeah.
For breaking party law. Now, keep in mind, when other CCP officials...
Uyghurs didn't have that restriction.
Well, you can have 2. They could have 2.
Is it only 2?
Yes,
I thought they could have as many as they wanted.
No, absolutely.
I know that some minorities have that, at least used to have that privilege.
No, most minorities can have 2 as opposed to the 1 during the one-child policy.
Okay.
Right?
But maybe because he's a party member, he's only allowed 1.
That is correct. Yeah. So that is the law. I know that for a fact.
Okay.
So what happens is if a Han person was to break that rule, they would have lost their job. They wouldn't be detained.
No, they'd get fined.
They'd be fined.
They get fined.
Yeah.
You get fined 100,000, I think it is. 100,000 RMB was the going rate back in the day.
They'd potentially lose their job if their boss hated them.
Yeah.
This guy goes to jail for having 2 kids.
Yeah, for sure. Any excuse, eh?
Yeah.
Get another of them potential extremists off the street.
We had that guy.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, what do we got next? Let's take a look.
These are fairly random.
Yeah.
We already had
we already spoke.
These are fairly random. We just took, there's literally 2,800.
Yeah, there's almost 3,000 of these.
And hopefully it gets more fleshed out over time.
Yeah.
We just wanted to throw in some randoms that we literally clicked on just to see what they would say, right?
Yeah, remember, this is breaking news. This is very very recent. So we didn't have enough time to comb through every one of them.
Oh, it's going to be an ongoing thing for sure. This is just coming out. You guys were able to see some of this stuff before almost everyone, which is great.
And the nice thing about this is there's starting to be some kind of changes.
It's a great development.
In Germany, Der Spiegel are the people who broke the story, I believe. They're the first people to actually break this. Originally. Der Spiegel and
BBC.
Yeah. What's really interesting about this is we've seen some government officials in Germany already take this and start questioning, why are we not addressing this? Why are we still dealing with China?
Yeah. So the takeaway I do want to leave with everyone is that there is a UN delegation right now in Xinjiang.
But they've said over and over again, this is not an investigation. No. We're in Xinjiang, but we're not investigating anything.
Right.
They're having a good time, presumably just like the shills, looking at some dances.
Or, the excuse that I'm seeing is that it's to promote human rights or something right?
It's the wrong place to do it.
No kidding. I'm just saying this is what it was. This is what it's been said. So anyway, it's important that this happened then, because this is going to right at the same time that the CCP is going to try to run deflection and defense. Say, oh look, the UN's here. They're doing a whole dog and pony show, walking around here, seeing everything's fine. The damning proof has been leaked. It's out now, guys.
Yeah.
This is a tiny smattering of a huge, massive issue that's happening.
Yeah.
And we're still, by and large, most of the people around the world are still dealing with China in some way.
Yeah.
Amidst a genocide.
Correct.
Which is super messed up.
It is. I mean, what happened to never again?
Apparently, let's do it again.
Yeah, it's never again unless it's China. Let them get away with everything.
That's
the Chinese
fine.
government's allowed to do what it wants and will not hold them to task.
Yeah.
Just remember, there's something that is very true in life, and that is that the truth will out. Doesn't matter how long it takes, but the truth eventually does.
That's true.
Come out. You know, you can try to hide it as much as you want.
It comes out.
Yeah, it comes out. And, you know, especially for the foreigners that have been complicit in trying to hide this up and cover it up, whether you think you were complicit or not, you were complicit. You were used as a tool by the Chinese government to try and divert attention away and say, there's nothing going on here. Everyone's happy and dancing around. The truth will out, and it is coming out right now. And there will be something to answer to, at least in your own conscience, at the very least. It's probably time for you to change your tune on this whole thing.
Or admit that you didn't know.
Yeah.
And say, listen, this is really bad. And now, honestly, if you are complicit, I think you have an amazing opportunity to promote the right message now. To go out there and be like, well, now faced with the evidence, I was wrong, and let's bring attention to this so we can sort it out. We can deal with it, right?
Absolutely.
As a globe.
Yeah. Maybe we can all kind of
do the right thing.
Join hands, so to speak, and fight this together, because
100%.
it's disgusting and there's no justification to what's happening or what has happened to the Uyghurs. And for the longest time, they've been crying out and being ignored.
Yeah.
And in fact, being beaten down for speaking out. And it's awful. It has to change.
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, we're going to hit our Q&A section of the show now. Okay, we're done with the main thing. Yamcha is where we get to relax and chat and answer your questions. We'll be answering super chats. Yep. And this will stay up for the remainder of the week. And we'll cut it out, as we normally do later. So, guys, I know it's a dour, terrible thing that's been discussed today. But let's see what we can do. Maybe we can have a little bit of a relaxing time here. So